Generally, you said feminism is neutral.
Here's what actually happened.
This composed the foundation of all knowledge.
I'm really mad that
What difference does it make, right? What
Stop.
difference does it make?
Stop.
The deregulation of the industry is obviously going to cause more of that industry.
And to lubricate the trust connection between people until they have enough.
Yet we could still look at biological reality in determining who's a female, even if there are.
Why don't you denounce feminism the same way that you're denouncing capitalism? If you don't...
For something to be objective, it needs to be verifiable. And you can't verify...
If I make a claim as a political pundit, it is true that I definitely could be wrong.
Yeah,
you're promoting, right?
Ideology is the main thing of politics, right? This is my ideology.
So 2015, anyone go back and watch the footage? The first GOP debate.
Cool, Robert. Oh, they dead? With a crowbar, you said?
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. I am Sara, the Raging Tomato, here bringing to you live another full-speed debate between the powdered Dusty and Andrew from DragonFist TV. This evening, the claim on board is it's illogical to believe in Christianity. Dusty, I will go ahead and hand it to you for your opening statement, please. Your mic is muted. You're muted.
Thank you for having me, and thank you to Andrew for accepting the prompt. First of all, something I want to say outright is that the debate prompt, my suggestion, I am attacking Christianity. I'm picking on Christianity, not because my criticisms can't be leveled at other religions as well. I certainly think that all the Abrahamic religions are on the table, probably all religions in general. But out of familiarity with it, I think Andrew's a Catholic. I was raised I went to a Catholic school. We're both more familiar with it. So my points here are not exclusive to Christianity, even though that is the focus of the debate. Logic is the study of valid forms of inference. Basically, are we coming to good conclusion given the inputs, the premises that we have at our disposal? I would say that absolutely. Believing in a religion, believing in a God that conflicts with our own experience is poor logic, and it prioritizes the words of a man, the leadership of a church, the words in a book over the tools that God gave us if you believe in God, nature if you don't. Our own experience, our own observations directly conflicts those things. So my claim is that it is an illogical conclusion to say, you know what, I believe this thing that contradicts my experience because a man told me to. And in fact, I'll take it a step further and say that it is blasphemous to believe that. I don't need the whole 8-minute opening statement. I can land it there.
For sure. Thank you so much. And Andrew, to you for your opening statement, please.
Sure. Thank you, Sara, for hosting the debate. Thank you, Dusty, for suggesting this prompt. I do appreciate it. We're here to address a very specific prompt. Once again, I was shocked by the choice of this prompt, which is, of course, believing in Christianity is illogical. To support that claim, my opponent has the impossible task of disproving centuries of established logic, tangible evidence, and the very laws of reason that govern our reality. We begin with the timeless logical proofs for the existence of God. When we first spoke, it seemed my opponent thought I was making these up. I told him then to look up Thomas Aquinas, but clearly he didn't do his homework before choosing this prompt. Aquinas' 5 ways provide a rock-solid logical framework for a creator that has stood for nearly 800 years. To call Christianity illogical, you have to dismantle these 5 pillars. I won't go into each one in the opening in depth. We can break them down after if you want. The first is the argument of the unmoved mover, which obviously we touched on in the last encounter. The argument from efficient cause, the argument from possibility and necessity, the argument from gradation, and the argument from design. Now, this is the one we kind of got into a little bit about Einstein, where you said that it wasn't Einstein. I do have 2 quotes. Einstein, and you also said in your opening that everything that we observe in reality tells us this is illogical. I believe it's exactly the opposite, and I think Einstein agrees if you look at these quotes. The first is he described professional atheists, what he called professional atheists, as, and this is a quote, cannot hear the music of the spheres. And this is also an Einstein quote, everyone who is seriously involved in the pursuit of science becomes convinced that the spirit is manifest in the laws of the universe, a spirit vastly superior to that of man. So this is the conclusion that we should be drawing, and we'll have to dismantle the 5 logical proofs from Aquinas. And then after that, once we link it to Christianity, I'll show you how the whole thing is logical. We have the logic of the unseen, which I used this analogy briefly yesterday, the Tolkien analogy. It's perfectly logical that we do not see God directly within our physical universe. Think of it like this. Tolkien is the creator of Middle-earth, yet you will not find him written in the dirt of the Shire. He is the author, not a character in the chapters. This is why Christianity is the most logical of all the Abrahamic religions. You touched on some of the others. I might agree with you on those, but Christianity, and I hope maybe this will make sense to you, is the only way that any of this makes sense. Because if God is the author and not in the story, then we require the Holy Spirit, the pneuma in the original Greek. This isn't just an invisible spirit. It's tangible. It's logical, and it's a force in this reality, separate from the unmoved mover. Logically, it follows that if God is to ever interact with man in human form, if anyone is ever going to see God and he's going to take this form, that manifestation is Jesus Christ. You just don't like the name, but it's the only way you could ever see him. The logic is complete. The Father creates the story. The Spirit is the force within the story, and the Son is the author entering his own work. And lastly, we also have to look at the law of reason and the tangible evidence that we have. For a position to be reasonable, it means your position is supported by evidence and the lived experience of billions. We have tangible physical miracles that continue to defy scientific explanation. The Shroud of Turin and the Sudarian. The shroud contains microscopic pollen and dirt from Jerusalem on the knees and the feet, consistent with a man walking and falling in that specific region. He has a broken nose with pollen and dirt on it from Jerusalem. It's showing that he fell face down on the floor and broke his nose. The shroud matches the Sudarium, the Veronica face cloth, in blood type and wound patterns. So if you take them, Dusty, and you go like this and you line them up, they line up perfectly. They survived history separately. People didn't even know what blood type was when this stuff was happening. And not to mention, the shroud was created by a massive burst of energy in a fraction of a second, an event so powerful it scorched only the surface level of the fibers without burning through the cloth. Science can still not replicate this. We can look at Our Lady of Guadalupe. This is an image that appeared on a cactus fiber cloak in front of witnesses. This event was so significant and undeniable that it practically converted all of Mexico to Catholicism. Using modern technology, scientists have zoomed in to the eyes of the image and found the reflection of the people standing there at the moment it was formed, wearing period-accurate clothing. These figures are so small, they're virtually microscopic. No artist in the 1500s could have possibly done this. And lastly, I'll bring up Padre Pio. He carried the stigmata for 50 years. He was examined. This wasn't that long ago. You can see his masses on YouTube. This was like in the 60s. Multiple doctors examined him. One even kept him under constant observation and wrapped his wounds and was sure that they were going to close up, but they didn't. When they were unwrapped a week later, they continued to flow. Having an open flowing wound for 5 decades is impossible. You would die from sepsis. It's impossible. Furthermore, even more amazingly, as soon as he died, they closed up. After 50 years of bleeding, as soon as he died, they closed up. There's no scar, nothing, just disappeared. So it's pretty amazing. And I could see why, logically, Shia LaBeouf played this part and then converted to Catholicism. It makes sense logically. So my opponent now has the impossible task of disproving Thomas Aquinas' logical proofs, explaining away the tangible evidence, and proving why his position doesn't violate the very law of reason, being that so many people agree and think that it's true. And we didn't even go into the benefits it has on society. It's reasonable just because it's the best for society, because we built Western civilization off of Christendom. We don't even have to get there. So it's just which stage of the logic do you want? So, Dusty, the floor is yours, sir. Thank you.
Thank you to both of you. I'll take the floor back for just a moment. Both gentlemen are dual streaming here. You can go over to DragonFist TV or the Powder Dusty. Send your love, subscribe, share, like, send money, do whatever you got to do. But be sure to give them the full Mater Nation treatment. We love all of that. Of course, we are going to get through the debate. Then we will move into closing statements. We will read and respond to your kind super chats. And then, of course, we will move into open panel. So if you have something to say or add in, don't go away. We will have room for you up here on the show. Gentlemen, I now leave the floor to you.
Sure. So let me kind of hit your opening statement backwards. You said that you made the claim that Christianity is better for society than an alternative. I'm not even fine. It may or may not be. I don't think it's demonstrable, but that doesn't mean it's logical. It can be, something can be illogical and beneficial at the same time. I'm fine with that. You mentioned a lot of relics, Our Lady of Grilled Cheese, the Shroud of Turin, which I believe has been pretty thoroughly debunked.
Sure.
Everybody, these are sideshow attractions, right? You're very familiar with the history of relics, I assume, and how they've been attractions and profit centers for a lot of places throughout all of human history. You got the toe of Saint whatever, right? And people come and pay to see it. So I find it interesting that you use relics as a support. Again, it's not logic, right? There's nothing logical in believing that this cloth somehow survived 2,000 years intact, and it is the face print of Jesus when we don't have Jesus's face to print it on, right? And then at the beginning, you mentioned Aquinas. You are correct. Aquinas wrote over 200 works. I did not read them all since we talked last. But what I did do is I learned from the last time we talked, and I chose to prompt in a way where Aquinas is defending God. Now, I mentioned last time that I'm an agnostic. I'm not an atheist. I don't actually have an issue with the unmoved mover. However, your task is to defend the Christian God, and it is illogical to believe in a system that advocates talking snakes, parting seas, virgin births, resurrections. All these things are contrary to what we experience every day in life. If you were in line at Walmart behind a pregnant chick and she said, "I'm a virgin," you go, "Yeah, fucking right."
Okay. Thank you. Yes, they are extraordinary events. I'll start with the Shroud because these, yes, of course, relics became a business, but that doesn't mean that there was never a legitimate original relic. It's more likely that the original ones got such attention that copycats, I mean, we see that today all the time. It's rare that something just pops up without a market there for it first, and the fakes just start popping up. That's rare. So it's likely that, of course, there was, and the things that I'm bringing up besides the Shroud are not that old. You know, Padre Pio, like I said, you can go online and read the doctor reports. It's not a relic. There's reports. There's medical reports. He's on YouTube. His last masses. He was like ashamed of it. He wasn't even going around showing it to people. He has them covered. but you could see him. So as far as calling them relics, I think that you're just casting an unfair shadow on it. And as far as the shroud goes, it hasn't been debunked. They did carbon dating from a known repair, obviously. This is fact. You can look it up. It was from a repaired part of the shroud. New technology, which is called wide angle X-ray scattering, which tracks, you can look it up also. They've done more tests on it that bring it back exactly 2,000 years. So, I mean, we already know we've had it for 1,300. So I don't know why you're saying we can't. And
isn't a repair an alteration?
It was in a fire, which is also a miracle. Ooh. A miracle that it survived. Think about that, Dustin.
Yeah, how long did you say we'd had it for?
We've had it, I think we originally, are the first time there's a reference to it is like, it's either, I think it's 700 AD is the first written reference of it.
That's a long ass time to not be around. And then to all of a sudden be around and be sure that this is the face of Jesus. How did we match this to Jesus's face?
I'll tell you. I'm glad that you asked, sir. And I'm going to get to the other points also. But the reason that we can match this to Jesus is because of the pattern in which this person was executed. This happened in history, one of one people in history were executed with a crown of thorns, with a spear in the side, with whipped marks all over their body. And
how do you know that?
Plenty of people were executed and crucified. But in this manner, this is one of one. And to also,
how do you know that?
Because there's no other documented history of someone else being crucified in that manner. And this is a very famous story. And certain things on the shroud just couldn't be faked, like the blood and water that came out of it's not like they just painted blood on there. It's not painted on. It flows from a wound. Science knows that. So
something between 100 and 150,000 individuals are believed to have been executed by the Romans, or crucified, to be crucified by the Romans,
but not in that manner. Not with the crown of thorns and the side spear in the side.
We have absolutely no way of knowing that. Absolutely none.
Dude, the guy even has, it says in the Bible, obviously, because I'm going to use this as just the account for the crucifixion, that he fell and he was carrying the cross. The guy has a broken nose and dirt on his knees. You can't fake this.
Yes, you can.
And it matches the face cloth that we have in blood type.
How many times have you had your nose broken? You do martial arts. How many times has your nose been broken?
So you're saying that can you point to another person in history that has ever been known to be, and also the image on it? So when you take these two factors together, it couldn't possibly be anybody else. It's not anybody else. That's a ridiculous claim. Like, we know who it is. And it's just a matter of people saying that it's not real, I guess.
So you think that throughout the 100 to 150,000 people crucified, nobody else had a broken nose and got stabbed in the side?
I don't think they had a crown of thorns and a spear in the side to make sure they were already dead. Most of the times they got their legs broken, which this person didn't have. And it's not. And you said
sounds like a counterfeit relic to me.
Yeah. So how did that image get there that we can't replicate today that wasn't painted on? How is that possible?
I don't have any idea.
Exactly. So even the
but that doesn't mean that it's
now zoom in on the eyes. There's coins on the eyes. Modern technology. Whose coins do you think they are when they zoom in?
Wait a second. The coins printed on the eyes?
There was coins on his eyes when you died. They put coins over your eyes.
And 2,000 years later, we can still see the coins in the cloth, and that doesn't sound suspicious to you.
In the image, they're Pontius Pilate coins. What?
Of course they would be. Of course they would be. What other coins would you put there if you're making a relic?
Okay, so at least we're admitting we know who it is. And I said the first time that anyone mentioned it as the shroud, I believe you can correct me. We can look it up if someone in the chat wants to verify. It was around 700 AD. I could be wrong on that number, but it's around there. It's mentioned in the Bible as well. Like when they go and find
the Shroud of Turin is.
It mentions the cloth sitting on. Yeah, when they get to the open tomb,
they wrapped him in a cloth and they buried him.
The author mentions the folded up cloth left there. So we know that there was a shroud left there from.
So we know then that if you're selling something to Christians, the shroud would be a good relic to make. The story paints the path for you. It tells you what to make. It tells you how to make it. It tells you who to put on the coins. It tells you where all the things need to be.
You're forgetting about the image. You're forgetting about the image on there. that survived all this time that you can scratch off with a razor blade. The fact that it survived a fire, the fact that we still have it is a miracle.
Let's look at the time. Let's look at the chronology here. We have the first gospel was written, what, 40 AD or something, I believe?
It could about 40 years after Jesus, yeah.
And then the cloth of Turin shows up 700 years later, and you think that the cloth came before the story?
Yes, I think that the cloth.
That's not logical. That's not logical. Because it defies the chronology that we discovered them in.
No, but it's in the story. So just because they got written down and we put them at around 60 or 70 AD, John being the last one at around 90 AD, we don't actually know, first of all. And keep this in mind. You say it's illogical. Do you know that almost every other biography that we have is written later than that? Almost all of them. This is actually one of the closest sources that we have. Most biographies are written way after the person is dead. Most. We don't question any of those. So it just seems like you're putting an unfair burden on this one where it's perfectly logical.
Because it makes the Gospels make the Jesus being God is a way bigger claim than any other biology I've ever heard of, or biography. I mean, also, let's use, this is where we can use the experience that God gave us in this life and our own, ability to reason and look at, you mentioned Tolkien earlier. I can get on Amazon right now and pull up 1,000 rings with the Elvish inscription on them. What came first, the rings on Amazon or Tolkien's novel?
Well, the unmoved mover came first, obviously. And that's why really, if you want to debunk the logic, because this is complicated.
You just sidestepped my question.
That's the answer. I can't explain the unexplainable to you, but I can tell, and whether or not it's true, whether or not Christianity is true, isn't the prompt. The prompt is it logical? And I'm laying out the logical case for it. Like, you have to point to a flaw, and it builds on top of each other. You have to start with Aquinas. You have to start.
There's lots of flaws. I've pointed out lots of flaws, Andrew.
Okay, so you have to go through each Aquinas logical proof and show why it's illogical because of the law of non-contradiction.
I don't.
Okay, so the law of non-contradiction, it can't both be logical, where you can't disprove it, and illogical. It can't be.
Let's apply the law of non-contradiction to the concept of the Trinity. How many gods are there?
I explained why this is logical and necessary. So you have God, the force, the original mover, right? The force it's not a person in the sky. It's Tolkien writing the story, nowhere found in the story. The spirit is then used to enact on the story. So it's the actual tangible spirit that's here. That's the Holy Spirit. Does that track so far? Like, the creator's not in the story, so he can't.
My question was how many gods are there?
I'm explaining it to you. I'm trying to piece it together because it's more than one. You have to follow.
But this is where the law. This is what this. You're trying. You're wrapping it. You can't answer it because it clearly violates the law of non-contradiction.
No, I'm answering.
Actually, it violates the law of identity as well.
Okay, I'll tell you why it doesn't violate the law of non-contradiction, because this has been disproven with things like quantum entanglement and superposition. So, like, already we know that things can be in multiple states at once. That's a fact. We know that from science.
So science just disproved logic. Is that so? We're throwing. Are you saying logic doesn't exist?
I'm saying for a being, for the ultimate creator of the universe, for God Himself to be in multiple positions isn't that far from what we see in current science. It actually makes sense. And I'm saying that
God is not. You're saying that God is not beholden to logic. You agree it is illogical.
No, it's not illogical. I'm trying to explain it to you. You just can't even follow the first part, and you're being reductive by trying not to follow it on purpose. So what I'm saying is that God, the Father, the unmoved mover, does not interact in this story. The Holy Spirit is the force. The pneuma.
In what story?
You have to look at the original Greek. The word is pneuma. It's not the same as
in what story? What story does God not interact in?
This whole material reality is the whole story.
He didn't part the sea.
Through the Holy Spirit. Right. That's what I'm saying. Through the pneuma. And that's actually the word that they use, which is a different thing. It's not the way we think of spirit, like spirit in the sky. It's a separate thing. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. It's where
so there's more than one God.
Pneumatic power tools. Do you know pneumatic power tools that use air? It's the same thing. When they describe it in the Old Testament, it's a force that's on top of the water, moving it, shaking it. So this is the Holy Spirit interacting with the planet. And then if you ever want to interact with God face to face, he has to take human form. How is that not
logical? What about
logical?
A burning bush?
Right. So that's not him in human form.
Hold on. What about the burning bush? That's not human form.
That's why it's logical. So I'm saying to you, if you want to see him in human form, he has
you just said something that's not true. You just said God has to take human form in order to interact with man.
If you want to interact with him ever and see what he looks like, he has to take human form. He would have to manifest.
Who did Moses talk to on the mountain?
Burning bush.
Yeah, right. He
wasn't that God? That was
form.
God.
Right. Where's the where aren't you following the logic?
That's because a bush is not a man.
That's correct. Jesus had not come yet and manifest in human form. So he was speaking through this Holy Spirit, through the pneuma in the bush. Yes, it's logical if you follow it.
Our God, so God and the Holy Spirit are separate things.
Yes.
So how many gods are there?
One.
Is a father and a son. So the definition of a father is a relational one, right? It means it has a child. A father has a child, but the father can't be its own child. That's mutually exclusive. This is the law of identity being violated.
Okay. Are ice, water, and steam the same thing?
In different forms. They're not the same thing at the same time.
You got it, brother. Exactly. So,
but they're not the same thing at the same time. No, that doesn't work because
God is. How do you know he's taking?
Father, why have you forsaken me?
You're just smuggling that.
Father, why have you forsaken me? Jesus didn't. He's talking to another person, another entity.
Yeah, or praying out loud. Yeah, he was also
to himself.
Man. No,
to himself,
to the Spirit. Like, yeah, there's other. Right. You're trying to you want me to explain all the ways in which God works? Like, clearly,
I just want you. I mean,
I'm doing the best I can here.
First of all, I know enough Bible to know that no man can explain that. What I want you to do is tell me how you think that these conform to the laws of logic. Also, quick point. Thank you, Rude Cunt Crab. Independent tests date the cloth of Turin, or the Shroud of Turin, I'm sorry, to the 13th or 14th centuries, consistently not the 1st century time of Christ.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. They took a piece of the cloth that was a repair from the very end of it. If you look up a more recent test called wide angle X-ray scattering, look that up and find the results. I'm not making it up. That 1980s carbon dating is long debunked. They know it's from a repair. Ask whatever you're Googling if it's from a known repair. Ask it. Well, I want to know the answer. It tells you. Say
it was a comment on my. Okay, what's the question you want asked?
I was going to say, is that patch from that they tested that carbon from a known repair?
I just asked when was the Shroud of Turin dated, and the quick answer: it was radiocarbon dated in '88 by 3 independent laboratories. Results published in Nature and confirmed by the Holy See, which is your authority, right?
That's the repair.
The cloth. I mean, that's not what it says here.
Ask it. Was that from a known repair?
Okay, hold on. Despite this, some researchers in 2024 claimed new evidence using wide-angle X-ray scattering and other techniques suggesting the shroud may date to 55 to 74. However, these findings remain controversial and have not overturned the widely accepted dating. The Catholic Church does not officially endorse this as Jesus' burial cloth.
That is correct. But did you ask it if the 1980 carbon testing was from a known repair? Did you ask it that? I know you found the wide angle X-ray scattering.
I didn't. I'm not honestly trying to do both sides of this argument.
No problem. It is from a known repair. I was just asking you to verify. But anyway, so my point is this: you can't say it's illogical. You have to show me where the flaw is in the logic. That's what I'm saying. We're not saying, oh, is it true? Is it not true? Like, for example,
the law of identity.
Let me give you one example. If you take, because we already looked at the unmoved mover, we don't have to do that again, even though this is clearly something that you can't break the logic of it. It stood for 800 years. And not only that, Dusty, as science comes out, it only proves the logical proofs for God. And like I said, Aquinas has the best one against God. Science disproves as it comes out that one. So as relativity comes out, it shows, there must be an unmoved mover. And as quantum entanglement comes out, it disproves his logical argument against God.
The issue with Aquinas' arguments and why I chose the prompt the way I did is because both you and Aquinas, when we get into the nitty-gritty, start diluting what it is that is being proven here. Unmoved mover is the most opaque, broad definition of God. Obviously, the Christian God is well more defined. There's plenty of Bible. There's plenty of tradition that puts specific characteristics on God that is a lot more specific than the unmoved mover, which is just all you're saying is there's force, basically.
Okay,
right?
So
force
are you
exists.
granting that one's logical?
I'm granting that force exists.
But are you granting that there's sound logic in the unmoved mover proof?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Logic, dude.
What I'm saying is I'll just grant it. I'm not even arguing that. It's too nebulous of a point.
So we have to build on it. That's what I was trying to say. We can't reduce it to just one because it's complicated.
Well, first, we're talking about a specific God and a specific religion.
Right, we're gonna get
there. And that's why I think it's worth pointing out again that you acknowledge that for the Trinity to work, God does not need to adhere to logic. I think you agreed for a moment that Christianity is illogical. That's where faith comes in. Even the Christianity itself says to have faith, which is an illogical position.
It isn't. It can be based on evidence. You can have faith based on evidence. Certainly. If that wasn't the case, then there wouldn't be a story in there with doubting Thomas, where he has to stick his hand. Like, that wouldn't be a story if that was the case.
I'm not familiar with that story.
Yeah, doubting Thomas that doesn't believe Jesus came back and he has to stick his hands in the hole to believe it.
Right.
Saying,
but
like,
that story points out his lack of faith, right?
He needed the evidence.
Yeah, he needed the evidence because he lacked faith. You're supposed to have faith. He was an example of how not to be.
Yeah, but sometimes evidence is required, and God is not like he leaves us evidence. That's my point. Like we're acting like there isn't any. And you just like something about Our Lady of whatever chocolate milk.
Our Lady of the grilled cheese.
Our Lady of the grilled cheese. That's not an argument against Our Lady of Guadalupe, which is that
is an artifact, though,
of Mary that appeared in front of people and converted the whole country. So, like, I'm going to get to why it's the Christian God. But first, I just want to confirm you're granting me all the Aquinas proofs.
We didn't go through all the Aquinas proofs. What I'm saying is I'm sort of walking around them because I don't think let me ask you this. Do any of Aquinas's proofs specifically address Christian God, or do they I believe that they're all just addressing God broadly.
So you have to build on it. He does certainly address. He's a Catholic. He does certainly bring the Christian. I'm trying to get there, but you have to.
So for the sake of discussion, I'm just going to grant him.
Okay, perfect. Because the intelligent design one, like I said, I showed you the Einstein quote. He agrees.
Oh,
with it. That's one.
Okay, hold on. Let's go back to that one. Give me the intelligent design one.
I think that's the only one we should go over. I'll tell you what it is. The argument from design. Even things without intelligence act towards a goal, like planets and seasons. They're being directed by an intelligent designer, just as an arrow is directed by an archer. And then if you take that and you look at the Einstein quotes that I gave you earlier.
Hold on. Can we pause there and address that one?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
There's no. You don't know that that's a goal, right? Because they behave in a particular way. That means that they're predictable, right? You can tell that the Earth is going to go around the sun next year because it did last year, right? These things behave in a pattern. That doesn't mean that the sun or the Earth doesn't have a goal. It's not trying to get back to square one.
Right, but it's being directed by an intelligent design. And you're 100% right. It's predictable. And if we tie it to Einstein, that's why he was trying to unify. He thought he could predict everything that would ever happen. That's the goal. Why he was trying to unify the theory by like getting everything right. And he did think that this was possible, but the more he looked at the universe and the way that it went, he started to agree with this intelligent design opinion, which most scientists do get to this point once they look at it deep enough. How complex. Listen to the quote.
You're making a claim.
This is an Einstein quote. I'm not making a claim. Quoting him. Quote.
Saying that most scientists agree with that is a claim that you can't support.
I take it back. Not most, but prominent ones. Not Aristotle. Sir Isaac Newton has a similar quote. I can read you that one as well. But we'll start with Einstein's. Everyone who is seriously involved in the pursuit of science becomes convinced that a spirit is manifest in the laws of the universe, a spirit vastly superior to that of man. That's Einstein.
Okay, that's fine. You, again, like I said in the opening statement, you're not actually putting your faith in God, you're putting it in man.
How'd you get there?
Is Einstein God?
No, I'm saying he agrees with the intelligent design argument, as does Sir Isaac Newton. Here's a Newton.
But you're asking me to default to authority, which is a logical fallacy. No,
I'm showing you science.
The people that you're referencing, the only way that makes it logical to come to the same conclusion as them is if we commit a logical fallacy.
It's not a logical fallacy. I'm using your worldview to show you it makes sense logically.
No, you're not.
Logically.
You're using a generic scientism worldview.
No, I'm using secularism. I'm using science. I'm not using Christians. I'm quoting for intelligent design Einstein and Sir Isaac Newton. I don't know how much better sources I can give you. I'm going to read the quote. Newton wrote, most beautiful system of the sun, planets, and comets could only proceed from the council of dominion of an intelligent and powerful being. So, like, you can't say that was Sir Isaac Newton.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to show from your worldview, science does support intelligent design. So
that's a scientist's opinion, right? That's a scientist's opinion. Would it be logical for me to adopt his opinion because he said so?
Would it be logical?
Yeah.
I mean, don't you do that all the time? You don't trust the science? No. Isn't that your position? To trust?
I don't trust. No, it's not. I don't trust. I don't trust.
I'm defending the scientists.
I don't. I know you trust man more than I do. I don't trust men. That includes your Pope. That includes your scientists. What I trust more than anything is the tools that God gave me, which is my own experience. I don't care if Isaac Newton tells me that the apple blew up and that's where the Big Bang came from. I don't care if Einstein said the Shroud of Turin is for sure real.
Yeah.
What I'm telling you is that there's people out there. The biggest religion on earth is telling me to believe that a virgin man God, who's the son of God, but there's only one God, right? And then he died and rose from the dead. Like, these things all can contradict with what we've experienced in real life. Resurrections, virgin births, the concept of the Trinity, like I said, violates the very first principle of the laws of logic. The very first one.
I already showed you with something as simple as water that it can exist in multiple states.
Not at the same time.
Where the floor
Not at the same time.
Okay, but we're talking about God, first of all. And when did we say it was at the same time? I might even grant you that. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Like I don't see what the difference is. We're talking about God. Clearly, if water can exist in multiple states, it's not illogical to assume that God can. God?
It is illogical. Yes, it is. It's a violation. It's a violation of the law of identity. To be God, the Son, and God, Father, why have you forsaken me? They're two things at the same time. That violates the very first law of logic.
It doesn't, because we know about things like I said, like superposition, where things exist in multiple states at the same time. That is a scientific fact. Again, I'm using your worldview.
So again, I'm going to ask you again, are you debunking logic right now?
I'm not debunking logic. I'm showing you how it's logical. We're talking about the supreme creator. I won't say being, because I know we had this argument last time.
Don't superpositions directly contradict the first law of logic as well?
They're real, bro. I don't know what to tell you. Superposition is a real thing. I'm not saying whether or not it contradicts. Like, it's a thing. It's real. It certainly disproves Aquinas's argument against God, which is funny. It's funny that relativity proves the unmoved mover and superposition disproves his argument against God, which stood for a long time. Atheists still use it today. So, like, I don't.
So, do you want to have your cake or do you want to eat it? Like, I guess I'm just you're moving around a lot.
Because you won't let me stay on track. I'm trying to.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So have we established Aquinas's proofs are logical, at least for the one creative God, the one creator God?
No, I dispute the fifth one. Again, because what we're doing is we're recognizing patterns in nature. I dispute that they are goals. But if you want to continue to make your case, we can move forward and just pretend that I accept it, but I don't.
But I think you need to provide, considering it's your prompt, if you're going to you can't just say, I don't accept it. You have to disprove, you have to point to another area in which we get intelligent design out of chaos. You have to spontaneous life out of nothing. You have to point to another area where this happens. You have to disprove this because this is the logic. If you can't disprove it, then I win the debate.
So the logic
and you have to disprove Einstein and Isaac Newton.
Your logic is built on a faulty premise, and the faulty premise it's built on is that we understand everything. I'm saying my position is we don't know where some shit came from.
That's my position too.
Then why do you? I mean, it seemed. Then why wouldn't you look at like the example, the Earth rotating the sun? Why do you then draw the conclusion that that's a goal? That seems like an illogical conclusion. It assumes that we would know why it rotates.
So do you see it as being possible? Let's just put everything to the side for a second. Just think logically, because that's what we're talking about, that the universe exploded in randomness and then everything formed the way that it did, down to the atoms, like you mentioned last time, and the electrons circling around them, to the galaxies circling, to nature going through seasons. You got this perfect order out of chaos. Is that you have to point to another example of this? Otherwise, you can't say it's illogical. You have to grant it, and we can move on to the next.
But you know what? And this is the mistake I made last time we talked, and I'm starting to do it again. So let me pull it back. I'm finding myself again in a position where I'm arguing against the concept of a creator entirely, instead of the more specific Christian God. So even though I still personally disagree with it, I'm going to grant it. I'm going to grant all of Aquinas's positions. So let's move forward.
I mean, I could say I could try to make the claim that I could win the debate off of that, just because it's a no true Scotsman fallacy. You can't take Aquinas, Saint Thomas Aquinas, one of the greatest Catholics to ever live, and not equate him as arguing for the Christian God. That's a logical fallacy.
No, I do believe that he believed in the Christian God, but he didn't make an argument for Jesus, for the specifics of the Christian God. He happened to be a Christian, right?
Right. So that's pretty important part. Like I said, no true Scotsman. You can't take that away. If you granted Aquinas, you granted Catholicism.
You're not dealing. You're inferring that this is the conclusion that he would draw, which I agree. Aquinas believed in the Christian God. However, that's not what that's not the argument. No. Listen to me. Sure. He did not make an argument for Christianity. His argument, the things that you're referencing, are for God in general. And it can be as nebulous. It can be as nebulous as nature. It could be the nature God. It could be the God of any. Can you name one religion whose God would not comply to Aquinas's arguments?
Well, he does make the case for the Christian God. That's what I'm saying. You did grant these, and I'll engage anyway, even though I feel like getting you to grant Aquinas's, that's pretty big for this debate. But I'll continue along. He does make the case for why it's the Christian God.
I thought I made it clear that I don't believe it, but we're not gonna get on the stumbling block, right?
Yeah, and it logically stands. You can't argue with that. There is, whether or not you think it's true, it's a logical proof that's lasted 800 years. So it's logical. If it wasn't, you know how many times this has been argued Like, we're not the first people to argue this.
How much longer? How long was it illogical? Did it hold that the Earth was flat?
Yeah, but that's not a logical proof. Like, if this, therefore that.
I mean, you're referencing the age of something as if that matters.
Yeah, because you see the benefit of being a Catholic over, like, if you might have like debated a evangelical Christian that like listens to their pastor or like has like a one big church, you know, like a Joel Osteen that's very famous. The benefit of being a Catholic, and I'm sure even an Orthodox as well, Eastern Orthodox, like an Andrew Wilson or someone like that. The benefit of this is thousands of years of church history. People have had this debate for the last 800 years on Aquinas's proofs. So it's not like we're the first ones doing it.
Don't you think that if they had been able to prove it, they would stop debating it? No, isn't the fact that we've been debating this for thousands of years, the age of the debate is itself good reason to believe that there is no proof in existence? When's the last time you had a debate with somebody about, I don't know, what color something is?
Okay, so if it lasted 800 years, could we at least say like both sides are logical then? Like,
no.
Why? They're both holding on to their thing for 800 years. No one beat each other in the argument?
Because nothing is more durable than an illogical belief.
I don't know about that, man. I think if there was a hole in this logic, you would have shown it instead of granting it and then trying to walk it back when I tried to say, okay, I win.
I showed it with the law. I showed it very early with the law of identity.
Yeah, so we're going to get to that next. I'll engage with you further, even though we already granted Aquinas. I got to fix my camera sometimes.
It was a conversational concession. If you're going to try to stomp around and treat it as a win, we can go back to it, and I can argue against it.
Aquinas is the logical.
But look, arm. Here, I'm trying to be generous. You have a whole.
Illogical.
Hold on, you're both going. Hold on.
I can tell that you have a whole structure built out here. I'm trying to let you get to your structure more. I'm being generous, but I can be stubborn as fuck if you want.
I know what you're saying. I'll be fair. We can continue on and argue the next point. That's fine. Because he does continue on and he makes pretty much the same case. He doesn't use Tolkien, but that's the case that he makes. He makes the logic of the unseen. So it's like I said, it's perfectly logical that we don't see. So you have to first look at the Holy Spirit. First, we've established what God is to Catholics, which is not an old man in the sky. It's this unmoved mover that doesn't interact in material matter. He's not made. He's not in time, space, or matter. He's outside.
Okay. What does Aquinas say about Jesus, though?
Getting to it. So you want to skip the Holy Spirit?
Well, what I want to get to is I want to spend less time arguing against God concept broadly, because again, the prompt, my position, is specific to the Christian God, and there's a lot more, and the Christian God is defined both in Scripture and in canon with a lot more specificity than the unmoved mover.
Pretty good that at least we got you to grant God. I know you want me to stop saying that, but okay, I'll do the Jesus one. I keep trying to give you a few inches, and you keep trying to take a mile out of it, man. If you keep doing that, we're gonna get stuck on it. I feel like this is a big moment, but I'll keep going, no problem. So we'll talk about Jesus. Like I said, he's not in the story. So how else could you ever, if you want to see God and have a conversation with him, and he wants to have a conversation with you and interact with you, does it follow logically that he would have to be in human form, to have a mouth and words and a face? That's the form.
I'm sorry. My brain got stuck. Did you just say Jesus isn't in the story?
No, I said God is not in the story. So does it follow logically that if you wanted to interact with God, he would have to manifest into human form?
God is
in material reality.
No, so God is in the story.
He has to take human form, right?
No, or who got Mary pregnant?
You're asking me to explain the unexplainable. I'm explaining to you why it's logically sound.
I kind of am.
Of course, I can't explain the inner workings of God. Nobody can do that.
But we have something knocked up Mary. It wasn't Jesus. We know that. It may have been the Holy Spirit, or it may have been God. So I'm asking you, in your illogical faith-based belief, what not? Did you just flip me off?
No. I was fixing my glasses. I gotta stop doing that. It doesn't look nice. I gotta stop. I'll use my.
Like, how did Mary get pregnant?
Okay, so I'm trying to show you I'm not going to be able to tell you the mechanisms on which someone was impregnated. It's not even relevant to the prompt, even if there wasn't.
Yes, it is. Oh, yes.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Oh, yes, it does.
It doesn't.
Oh, yes, it does.
Not in the logic I'm giving you. It doesn't.
I know it's not part of your notes that you prep for, but it's a huge.
It's logically sound. I'm showing you it's logically sound, not if it's true.
Can you be a Christian and not believe in the virgin birth?
No.
Okay, so then the virgin birth is a key tenet of the belief system. It is illogical. We need to address that.
It's illogical. That doesn't mean that Christianity can't be logical without the virgin birth. It doesn't mean that. Just because Christians currently that's the Christian position doesn't mean that it's illogical without that position. That's not correct. That's a straw man.
You just said that believing in the virgin birth is a critical part of the belief system. That right there is an illogical belief.
Yeah, but it's not.
You have to be a Christian. You just acknowledge that to be a Christian, you have to accept things that are illogical.
Whether or not Jesus was born, whether or not Mary actually had sex or not, is not relevant. Even if Christians are wrong about that, they could still be right about everything else. God is God. He can do whatever he wants. You can't get him on a he didn't do it this way thing. Like, that's not going to work.
Yes, you can. We're talking about logic, Ninja.
Don't have every single thing right. I'm not a Bible literalist. I don't think every word in the Bible is the inherent word of God. I don't think that.
But you just confirmed. Look, we've got to address this virgin birth issue because you just confirmed it is a critical part. It's an essential part of the belief.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
whether or not it's wrong is not relevant to the logic of Christianity. I'm trying to give you the logic of Jesus. It doesn't matter how he came into this world. He could have combusted simultaneously, and it would still be the same logic. It doesn't matter. Mary has no bearing. She could be in the story or not in the story, and the logic still stands.
No.
Because if you want to interact with God, he has to manifest into human form. That's the logic. It doesn't matter.
I know you want to bypass that. No, but this is a required belief for Christianity. It is illogical. That's why you don't want to address it. Christianity requires you to adopt an illogical position, at least on that tenet.
No. Absolutely not. It's perfectly logical that if you believe the rest of Christianity, why wouldn't that be true? If you believe that he rose from the dead and that the Shroud of Turin is real and all these miracles are real that we'll get to, I guess, then why would it be illogical for you to also believe he was born of a virgin? That seems like I think there's other virgin births recorded.
Right, but what you're saying is if I agree that we're in Mordor, why wouldn't I agree that the ring needs to be thrown in the fire? And I'm saying we're not in Mordor. And we know that because the ring doesn't make sense.
I'm trying to show you the logic. Not you keep arguing whether or not Christianity is true, which isn't the prompt. I'm trying to show you the logic. It follows logically. Dude, I was in church today. It was packed. And every week for all of Lent, it has been packed. If you're not there early, you're not getting a seat. You can't tell me. I was thinking about you when I was in there, Dusty, and I
appreciate that.
I was thinking he can't possibly say that all these people it's not reasonable what they think because there's so many of them. That is the law of reason, which is a law of logic.
Leftists do exist, you know. It is possible that there's a whole lot of people that are
there's a lot of people that think, and watch this, I'll bet the chat will light up. There's a lot of people that think Tom Hanks is a good actor or that Elvis Presley made good music, and neither of those things are fucking true.
Okay, but what does the law of reason say? I read it to you. It says that there's evidence and that it's supported by billions. Did I provide you some evidence, whether or not you think the validity of it we can get into? Did I provide you evidence that this is true or no? Tangible evidence?
Not reasonable evidence to believe.
Is there evidence? There's
Sorry.
evidence. I pointed to it.
There's
Billions of people believe in Christianity. Like those are the defining factors, criteria for what the law of reason, which is a law of logic, is. You can't say it's illogical.
Hold on. You're trying to drag the conversation into a place where we have not addressed the illogical belief of the virgin birth. Also, you made a claim earlier that God has to take human form. Yeah, Numbers 22:28. Then the Lord opened the mouth of the donkey and said, to Balaam, what have I done to you that you have struck me these 3 times?
He's using the pneuma. The pneuma, which is the same word in the Old Testament and the New Testament, the Spirit. I already said he can interact. He wasn't Jesus. He wasn't human form. He was moving the mouth of a donkey. And again, you have to also.
But he interacted with
take that book and then say, oh, it contradicts the New Testament. You have to be consistent with your logic. The Bible is not one book. It's 66 books. It's a library of books. You can't take a book that's highly symbolic and point to like a donkey talking and be like, oh, that negates this eyewitness account. That's not a.
So is numbers not part of the Word of God?
Yeah, but there's different types. Like there's a chronological piece to the Old Testament. There's Psalms, which is like more of poetry. There's prophets. There's several different formats that these books are written in over 1,000 years by countless authors. So
which books? Like, look. Hold on. Which books of the Bible can we throw out as not Word of God?
No, that's not. They're all divinely inspired. I already told you that I'm not a Bible literalist. Like I'm not gonna say like, yeah, there was really a talking donkey. Like some of this could be symbolic. I would have to look at the original text and figure out what exactly they're saying. A lot of stuff gets lost in translation. You know, there was never even an apple. That's not a thing. Like we all think there's no apple anywhere.
It was a fruit. Right. The Bible says it's fruit.
Like, do you see how things get lost in translation? Like everyone just thinks it, but it's not even in the original.
I mean, that's not a translational error. That's just a pop culture error.
Game of telephone, whatever. So no, I'm not saying, yes, you can point to illogical inconsistencies in the 66 books of the Bible, just like if you go into a library and say this Dr. Seuss book contradicts this Tolkien. Like, yeah, of course, it's in the same library.
But you just said that we need to apply logic consistently, and so I'm trying to figure out which part of the Bible is not the Word of God.
That's consistent. You have to look at each book on the merit and which style it's written in and what it's saying, for its time period. I know that this is a complicated task, but this is not. What are we talking about here? So this is complicated.
It is complicated because it's illogical. It has to get mired in complexity because it is an illogical take.
No, we wouldn't be able to do that. We're weaving together thousands of years of history, hundreds of authors into something that is logically tangible. The fact that we can even do that is amazing. So like I said, whether or not there's a virgin birth is not really relevant. Whether or not Jesus was born in Bethlehem or Nazareth
is not relevant. No, you just said it was essential.
No, I said it's part of the Christian canon. And it's not illogical
I asked you
for them to believe that if they believe the rest of Christianity.
All right, let me ask you this again. Can you be a Christian? And
one question: if you believe that if you're a Christian and you believe that Jesus rose from the dead, came back to life from the dead, is it illogical for that person to believe he was born of a virgin?
That's an illogical premise. Yes, it's bad logic still because your premise is illogical.
Which premise?
The resurrection. What you're telling me is you have to accept the fantasy first, and then within the fantasy belief system, then it makes sense. But you're starting with illogical premises.
No, the starting premises are the ones you already granted. You granted those premises. That's the start. And then we're building on it. I'm trying to show you, if you accept those premises, just say if you do, then you've accepted. Someone who accepts those accepts that God is not in this material reality. He's outside of space, time, and matter. So because of that, to interact with us and for us to talk to him and for him to have, why is it so hard for you to admit that for us to speak to God, he has to have a mouth? That's all we're saying. That mouth is on Jesus. You just don't like
the donkey.
No, because he wasn't the donkey. He was moving the donkey's mouth.
So
if he wants,
if you don't believe it, if you don't believe the Bible,
illogical.
If you don't believe the Bible, where are you getting your understanding of God from?
I'm not claiming to understand God. I'm giving you the best logical evidence that I can, that it's logically sound. Again, I'm saying I don't understand the way, nobody does. Like nobody could, but it's logically sound when we look around at the cohesion of the universe to understand there's intelligent design here. And if that's logically sound and God cares about us and there's an intelligent design, it's logical that he would want to interact with us if he designed us. So then it becomes logical that if he wants to interact with us, he has to take the form of us. Where is
what you're doing
Where's the flaw in the logic?
You're taking illogical beliefs and piecing them together into a logical fantasy.
Which is
but to couch that fantasy in reality where we live, you have to accept the illogical premises, is what you're trying to do.
You could say that if we didn't have the tangible proof, if there wasn't a Padre Pio, if there wasn't miracles that are documented, people living for 50 years with wounds the same as Jesus and they don't get sepsis. If these things didn't exist, if we didn't have the Shroud and the Sudarium, I would say, okay, you're right. We don't have any evidence, but we do have evidence.
You're leaning really hard on relics that have questionable origin stories.
No,
not only do they have questionable origin stories, the logic of relics, there's a conflict of interest with people that have logics. The conflict of interest is, do they serve God or do they serve their own profit? Obviously, it's profitable to have a relic. I would love to have a relic. I want the toe of St. Peter. I want to sell access to that.
When they do that, I don't like when they keep the bones. You know, Padre Pio still has not decomposed. You can go see his body. Like they have it. My parents saw it. You can Google a picture. His body still looks like ours. How is that possible, dude?
Have you seen the mummy of Akhenaten?
Yeah, it doesn't look like this. Pull up Padre Pio now. You can go see it. His skin looks like my skin. It's unbelievable, dude.
Really good mummification is not proof of Christianity.
No, but all these evidences together. You see, if you could take, like, if we looked at Islam, like what do they have? They have that stone, right? That's in Saudi Arabia in that case. It's like that black meteorite. Like back then, they probably thought it was a miracle. They saw this stone fall from the earth. They didn't know about meteorites. They took it, they put it in this case, they pray, they walk around it. It was amazing. Yes. It's this black rock. But today, we know that's a fucking meteorite. You can't do that same thing with the Christian relics. That's the problem.
Yes, you can.
No, you can't recreate the Shroud. You can't tell me how Padre Pio bled for 50 years and didn't get sepsis. You can't tell me how the Lady of Guadalupe, what do you call it, chocolate milk, appeared on the thing. In 1 second, it's not painted on. You can't explain any of these things. So to say it's not reasonable to believe in Christianity with all this evidence and the billions of people, those were the two factors in it being reasonable, billions of people and evidence. Where is the flaw in the logic that it's reasonable, at least?
The flaw in the logic is because groupthink is not logic. It's not even groupthink is illogic.
Look up the law of reason. Look it up. What does it say? It says multiple. Is it reasonable? Do a group of people reasonably agree that this is true? A group. That's the law of logic, dude.
Okay. Is there a group of people who don't believe in the Bible?
Yeah, and that's not an unreasonable position.
So you're just picking and choosing. How many people do you think more people on earth believe Christianity or don't believe Christianity?
Do I think more people on earth believe it or don't believe it?
Which group is bigger, the Christians or the non-Christians?
Well, are you adding in all the other religions too into
everything? Every atheist, agnostic, Muslim,
Christians, but some of Muslims believe in Jesus. They do think the story is true. They just don't think he's God.
No, they don't. Yeah,
if you read the Quran, who's coming back at the end? It's not Muhammad. It's Jesus. Jesus comes back.
They're not talking about Christian Jesus because they don't think that he died for. They don't think that he's the resurrected Son of God. They think it refers to somebody named Esau, who's a prophet. Jesus. Esau the prophet is Jesus.
They're talking about Jesus. Yeah,
Jesus was a prophet.
To Muslims, they call him a prophet. Yeah, and a more ordained prophet than Muhammad. Muhammad was judged in Islam. Jesus wasn't. Jesus went straight to God. And Jesus is the one that comes back at the end of Islam, not Muhammad. Jesus. So how could you... What'd you say?
Esau.
They're talking about Jesus again. You can't say they're not. They admit it.
You're claiming it's Jesus, and I'm saying that I'm disputing that. It's not Jesus anymore. Look, Christians love to do this. They take other texts and they say, look, there's Jesus. He's a servant. He's a lamb. He's a rock. He's the foundation.
He's about Jesus in the Quran specifically. I'm telling you, dude, you got to do some research.
I mean, we're stuck in another impasse where you're just wrong, but I understand that you're not going to move
wrong.
on.
Chat, please confirm. They're talking about Jesus in the Quran.
Do we have any Muslims in chat?
Do we?
I just heard. Look, the night that a few nights ago when we debated, that was a Muslim who was on the panel who was saying it's Esau, it's not Jesus. We both heard him say it.
Are you saying that Jesus is not in the Quran? Jesus is not important to Muslims? Look
I'm saying. Oh, I'm sorry.
There in the chat.
He wasn't a Muslim.
Muslims believe Mahdi and Jesus come back. It's in the
Anyways,
chat.
I don't know. We're off topic at this point. I'm not saying what Muslims do or don't say. I believe that you are mistaken.
Well,
you believe that you're not
mistaken. If Christians were the majority or the minority, and I'm saying people that believe that Jesus was a huge factor in and still believe in God the Father there's more of those people.
Hold on.
There's more of those people.
Everybody on earth should believe Jesus was a huge factor. Jesus is probably the most culturally significant figure ever. That doesn't mean that he's the fucking Son of God.
How could it be unreasonable then? How could it be unreasonable? You just said everybody on earth. Look, you know it. Sorry.
You didn't listen. Let me repeat it.
No, you can't walk it back. Dude,
I'm not walking it back. I'm completing the sentence because you started flipping out before I was done with it. Everybody on earth should recognize the massive, massive impact Christianity and Jesus has had on the world. That doesn't mean that he's the Son of God or it's true.
It means it's reasonable. Your statement means it's reasonable, which means it's logical.
Do you think was Johnny Appleseed real?
Huh?
Yes, technically. They called him Johnny Appleseed, but he actually went around and planted all of these stuff in America or whatever.
Let's do it.
You didn't say real. You said hugely important. Everybody in the world should know that. So you can't then say it's unreasonable. You can't say everyone in the world should know how important this person was.
Okay,
and that's unreasonable to be a Christian. That's
apply that same logic to Uncle Sam. Does Uncle Sam exist?
Yeah, but he's nowhere near, and you know it. He's nowhere near the impact of Jesus. This is the most famous person to ever exist. Not to mention the Shroud is the most studied piece of artifact ever. The most studied ever. If it
does Gilgamesh, do you believe in Gilgamesh?
Gilgamesh? Like from the Epic of Gilgamesh, the Sumerian text?
Yes.
It's likely that they're telling the same story as the Old Testament, which is even more proof that it's true.
What about the sun god Ra? What about the sun god Ra? What about Thor? Well, what about Hansel and Gretel?
Yeah. Can I answer one at a time? Obviously, there's a connection between Egyptian gods. You started with sun god Ra. There's a connection there. And even in the story, Jesus goes to Israel, not to Israel. Jesus goes to Egypt. And what do we say at the end of prayers? Amen. Where does that come from? That's Amen Ra. I don't there's a connection there.
Again, that sounds like polytheism.
These texts build on each other. That doesn't mean that it's not true. That doesn't because there's literary connections and there's
do you believe in the sun god Ra?
Multiple societies are telling you that these are the right stories. Multiple societies, almost all have the flood myth. Dude, none
of them. But Christianity is the only one with the resurrection myth, and Judaism and Christianity are the only ones with Moses. I believe is the story of Moses and the exile. That entire thing has no historical evidence or support.
Well, I already told you that the Gospels, even though people love to claim that they were written so much later, are actually some of the closest forms of biography that we have. Most biographies.
What are you talking about?
Alexander the Great's biography was written hundreds of years later, and we have way less on him. But nobody doubts that this is true.
Biographies are written while people are alive. I'm looking at a Rush Limbaugh biography. I've got a Hillary Clinton biography.
I'm talking about right now, where people do everything online. Clearly. Now people they're writing biographies before they die. I'm saying most of the historical biographies that we have, let me correct my language. Most of the historical biographies that we have are much older sources than the Gospels. That's the claim. You can't say it's unreasonable to believe them.
See,
when you believe
the reason
to debate, dude, because you believe all the other, you have no problem with Alexander the Great, but you have a problem with this when this is more reliable. Yeah.
The reason that Alexander the Great is more believable, even though, first of all, Alexander the Great had a lot of sources from while he was still alive. So that's not a good example for your part. But the most important thing is that Alexander the Great, the claims about him are not deification.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but the sources are much older, and we have plenty of sources of Jesus from his lifetime. We have Josephus's writings. We have other Romans writings from the time. We found letters, and the letters of Paul go back to like 10, 20 years after Jesus. The Acts of the Apostles are immediately after. We trace the Catholic, like this is a
Can I read you something?
So much later. We trace the Catholic. I believe that the Catholic religion is the true apostolic church. That means that it traces back to St. Peter. Back to St. Peter.
So
that's the time of Jesus. They were doing the same mass that I was at today in a different language, the same mass for 2,000 years. Nobody has dismantled it yet.
Letters of Paul to the Romans.
Right after
Romans 3:4. Let God be true, but every man is a liar.
I don't know what that means. I don't know what your point you're trying to make.
It means that you keep referencing men, you keep referencing scientists, historians, church leaders. You keep referencing men, but you're ignoring.
No, I'm showing you how the Bible is actually written, because it's a lie that it was written hundreds of years or 100 years after. Only the last gospel was like 90 years.
How do you know that's a lie?
Because we have Paul's letters that wrote a large portion of the New Testament. It's not just the four gospels. The Acts of the Apostles and Paul's letters were immediately following Jesus' death. Immediately. They are written right after.
Not.
Yes, they are.
Not according to any conventional.
Within a decade?
Like hundreds of years. I mean,
Paul's letters?
Saul, his job was to persecute Christians. Christianity was already an established religion before Saul turned into Paul.
Yeah, but not for long.
About 100 years later.
This is why it's logical. Let's look at Saul, one of the most logical cases for Christianity. I'm so glad that you brought it up. Saul persecuted Christians. He fucking hated them. It was his life's mission to kill Christians. So the fact that someone like that would then turn around and say, Jesus came to me after he died in his resurrected form, change his entire worldview from killing these people to being one of them. Isn't that pretty logical to believe that he actually had an experience?
Hold on. Do you think
around his entire life and then wrote the Bible?
Let's talk about Paul.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Paul, a man whose job, career, and as far as we know, passion was killing people whose belief didn't agree with his. Do you think that this is is this guy right in the head?
I think that conversion must have taken something extraordinary for him to have it. All the apostles went to their deaths. I mean, Dusty, I'm talking about brutal deaths. Most of them were executed worse than Jesus, hung upside down on crosses, skinned alive, flayed alive, decapitated. They all went to their deaths, not denying this.
Absolutely not denying it. You can convince people to do crazy shit for their beliefs. Look at kamikaze. Look at kamikaze pilots. Hold on.
Don't cut my head off. I made it up. Like, wouldn't they have said that if they made it up? Like the only
apparently not.
Really
Look, hold on.
Believed it.
We have example after example after example throughout all of humanity, continuing on today, of people who are willing to die for dumbass beliefs. Kamikaze pilots. Do you think that because kamikaze pilots are willing to die for their country, that Japan is the greatest nation on earth? Are you Japanese? Superior?
They lock them in the planes. Do you know that? They have to lock them in there. If they open the doors, they explode. Like, they don't want to kill themselves. And it's a different culture. We're talking about a totally different thing. We're not talking about people that are going to their deaths where they could just renounce something.
You understand early Christians were a different culture than we're in now.
Of course. Obviously.
Dramatically different.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that was a different culture to the Japanese. I'm not saying to us today. I'm saying that culture was very different. And what they if they had denounced their religion and bowed to Rome, they likely would have been spared.
Here's something else. And
they went to their deaths praying.
Here's something else. And I can't prove my position on this any better than you can prove your position. Sure. I believe that the examples of martyrs are greatly exaggerated by the church.
Yeah, again, the fact that you're trying to like argue these smaller points shows that you can't actually tackle the logic of Christianity.
Here's the logic. Here's the logic of how Christianity is illogical. Hold on, let me get through this. It'll be quick.
Sure.
Here's the logic of my position. Do you have to believe in a virgin birth? Yes, to be a Christian. You said that.
No, I said it's part of the Christian belief, but the logic stands without it.
No, I said
the logic stands without a lot of the story.
Okay. Can you be a Christian?
Where they were, when it was, like, it doesn't matter.
You confirmed that it is a requirement to be a Christian to believe in the virgin birth. That is an illogical belief, and you know it. That's why you keep trying to move past it.
It's straw man. I already said I'm not a Bible literalist.
It's not a straw man. It's not.
I already said I'm not a Bible, and it's reductive. I already said I'm not a Bible literalist. And you have to build one on top of the other. It's a complicated. We're talking about God.
You are trying to bypass the key illogical points of the religion and act like they're not there in order to say that it's not logical.
You could make because you can't nail down the actual logic. So you're
the logic
on Mary's virgin
birth. You have to believe in the virgin birth.
Of reducing the argument to the easiest.
If you have to believe in an illogical position,
it's not relevant. It's not relevant to the logic of Christianity.
It actually is relevant, and you confirmed that because you said you have to believe that in order to be a Christian. It's essential.
This is why it's a straw man. This is why it's a straw man.
I think what Dusty's trying to say is like, if I believe that the magician is truly doing magic when he pulls the rabbit out of the hat, then I would believe in magic altogether, right? If you like, you have to have all of these components in order to believe the religion. But what you're doing is you're saying, even if that one component seems illogical, it doesn't take away from the entirety of the religion. But being Catholic, I would say, Mary is like a shrine in every church, and she's a very big piece of that religion particularly. So I'm wondering if you can really pull away from it, or even say, well, it doesn't matter. And I think that's what Dusty's trying to get at with you.
Thank you.
It doesn't matter because it doesn't negate the logic of God being outside the universe, this universe, needing the Holy Spirit to work on it here, and some form of incarnate self in human form that we call Jesus to interact with people in human form. It doesn't negate that logic. It doesn't matter how. It doesn't matter if he was dropped out of the sky by a stork. It doesn't matter.
You're trying to.
My position is no. Let me tell you where the straw man is. I'm not a Bible literalist. I'm not saying that nothing in the Bible is wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that there's not one particular mistake that you can point to. I'm not even saying that it's true. I'm saying that it's logically sound, and talking about the virgin birth is not in the logical proof that I'm showing you. It can be in there or not.
It's not in the chain of logic you want to walk me down, but it is in the religion that you're saying is logical.
Right, but I'm not saying my claim is not. It's your claim. First of all, you have to show it's illogical, and you're pointing to one specific aspect that isn't pointing to the logic. It has nothing to do with whether or not he was born of a virgin birth doesn't matter to why Christianity is logical.
No, but it does
because it shows how God could and would come into contact with us. It doesn't matter by which mechanism he does that. That has nothing to do with the logic. And
is Christianity a belief system?
We already said billions of people agree with it, and there's evidence. You can't counter that either. That alone wins me the debate. You can't counter it. So you bring up a straw man over here, a low-hanging fruit, to try to get some contradiction when I already said I'm not a Bible literalist. I said that.
So what is it exactly that you believe? Because I keep refuting you with Bible scriptures, and you keep going, well, apparently something can be essential to Christianity, but not important at the same time. Make that logic make sense.
Not important to the logic. It's not important to Christianity. The logic is you start with the 5 pillars from Thomas Aquinas. You build on the unseen author into it. Once you build on the unseen author, the ways that God would interact with you is through the Spirit. How he does that doesn't matter, whether he uses Mary or Sarah.
It does matter.
It doesn't. It's just that it's logically sound that it would work this way, that he's outside of the story, that the Spirit is here in the story, and that if he wants to talk to you in human form, it's through a human. How is that illogical? And then
you keep stating that claim, bro. I read you the Bible verse with the donkey, right? You keep making this claim that you just seem to have invented on the spot.
You want to interact with him in human form. In human form.
Oh, now God can interact with man
in human form. If you want to see a face, a human face, he has to have a human face. Why is that illogical?
I'm starting to wonder if you're even Christian anymore, because you've poo-pooed away a lot of the Bible.
No, we're just talking about the logic. I'm not telling you what I believe. I'm saying it's not relevant to the logical proof.
Okay, so here's how we can address the logic of the situation.
Like Christianity can still be true even if they're wrong about that.
Given that an essential part of Christian faith is the virgin birth, that you agree. Now, make that a logical belief system for me, because you have to believe it to be a Christian.
You're not understanding what I'm saying. There's a
difference. I do understand what you're saying.
You're conflating the truth of the religion with the logic of the religion. You're conflating these two things.
I understand exactly what you're saying, and that's why I understand why you're trying to walk around it.
It's logical.
Hold on, Dusty. Let him
I'll show you why it's logical. It's logical because if you believe the rest of the story, if you're a Christian, I already told you this. If you believe the rest of the story, the sound logic that I already gave you that you're not trying to negate for Christianity because you know it's logical, so you're attacking this other point, it's perfectly logical that if you believe all the logic of Christianity, that a virgin birth is, of course, it's so logical. It doesn't matter. He could do anything. He came back from the dead. He raised Lazarus. He can do whatever he wants. Like, why would it then be illogical from the Christian position to believe in a virgin birth? Where's the illogical? You have to take it from that worldview. Like, why would that be illogical? They already believe that he's the Son of God.
Filibustering now.
No, I'm giving you the answer. If you believe he's the Son of God, why would it be illogical that he's born?
Why would I believe that?
Illogical.
Why would I believe any of the rest of Christianity?
Oh my God! Again, which evidence do you want? Like,
what I want specifically is you to address the Christian parts of it, not Aquinas's arguments for God broadly. Tell me why I would believe in Lazarus. Tell me why I would believe in the resurrection. Tell me why I would believe, I don't know, in the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, whatever. Tell me why I would believe in talking serpents. Why would I believe in the Exodus, where there's no record of it? We have perfect records of all the pharaohs.
Yeah,
and no mention of the Exodus in the
Bible. The first in the beginning, there's a whole chronological thing that goes back to Moses, to David, all the way to Jesus. There's a whole chronological order. Noah.
Do you know that the lineage of Jesus is contradicts itself in 2 different gospels?
Yeah, so what?
So which fucking lineage do you want to pick and choose?
That doesn't make it illogical. No. Let me explain to you what's happening here.
It makes
logic. Yes. I'm going to tell you why it's not illogical. You said something. Let me tell you why. Because if you have 4 eyewitness accounts, let's say somebody unalive somebody, and you get 4 people saw it, they're going to tell you different stories of what they saw. But if they all tell you this guy did it, it doesn't negate the testimony. Like people still, it doesn't matter. I brought this up the other day. Like if they said the person's wearing a blue shirt or a green shirt, or it was this day, it was Tuesday, it was Wednesday. If everyone says I saw Dusty do it, the testimony is good. It doesn't matter about the minute details. That's the way testimony works.
Look, if we're both witnesses,
that actually proves my point.
You got to stop filibustering.
No, you're proving my point.
You're filibustering. No. You just said a lot of bullshit there. If we're both on the witness stand and we both say Sara the tomato killed somebody, and I say in the dining room with a candlestick, and you say in the backyard with a fucking chainsaw, that negates both of our fucking claims. We both lose credibility.
Testimonies have differences in them all the time. They don't get thrown out all the time. It doesn't. It actually proves my point. Like if they were trying to make up this entire lie, then they wouldn't have had conflicting reports. But the fact that there's conflicting reports shows it's true. They're showing the different reports.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's how reports work. That's how testimony works. So if they were trying to fake it, they would have just made everything cohesive. But they didn't.
Look, what it shows is one, and I know that you'll agree with this because you already conceded, the Bible's not the perfect word of God. It does show that.
Yeah,
it shows an imperfection.
Be a Catholic.
Okay. So how do you pick and choose between which one of these conflicting accounts? Also, all it shows is that you got 60. All it shows is that you got 66 books.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said 66.
Don't you? So you don't see how the lack of consistency negates credibility? No. Do you know how good?
I would say yeah, it's probably fake.
Do you know how good the genealogy? Hold on, let me give you a comparable example. The pharaohs, the lineage of the pharaohs is perfect, aside from the fact that King Akhenaten and Sai, those three pharaohs were removed from part of Egyptian history for a while because they were very despised. Aside from those three, we have perfect genealogy of these motherfuckers. You're saying that 1,500 years later, we can't get Jesus's genealogy right, even within the Gospels?
No, we have his blood. We have his blood on the shroud and on the sudarium. It's like
no, we don't.
Yes, we do. They've done tests on it. Like what they find.
How did they test that? How did they know that's Jesus's blood?
Again, we have you're jumping all over the place, like trying.
No, you're making these claims. You're making dumb claims, like bad claims, faster than I can keep up with them. How do we know that that's Jesus' blood?
Evidence. You're trying to shoot it all down at once. You can't shoot down any of it. How do they know? Well, okay, so when you have the face cloth that's described in the eyewitness testimony as happening, and then you have the cloth with the blood spatter patterns described exactly as in the book. They didn't know about cauterized wounds and the way blood flows, what the contents is, 20%.
What are you talking about?
Blood. They've analyzed the blood.
You don't think they knew about cauterization? We've been mummifying people for thousands of years.
You're not following. Let me. I want you to understand what I'm saying. They've looked at the blood spatter patterns on the cloth. They're not painted on or put on with a brush. They flowed from a wound. They know that for a fact.
That's fine. That's fine. I'll just grant it.
So
some poor motherfucker in the 1300s got wrapped in a cloth while he died. Certainly, he's not the
crown of thorns and blasted light out of every ounce of his body, and we still have it today. And you're saying it's illogical?
I will say that that claim,
unbelievable, man. That we still have it today, and you can't see
the shroud. Even the Romans see even your religious leader agrees and has not negated. I know you said that they dated it again or some shit. Your own church leadership agrees it was from the 12 to 1300s.
No. That's the straw man. They just didn't verify that it's authentic. They're just not making the claim that it's authentic or not authentic. They're not going with that dating. That's certainly not the case. And of course, if you date the part that's known to be a repair from the Middle Ages, you would expect a Middle Ages result. Again, there's no flaw in the logic. You're trying to prove whether or not it's true, but the logic is sound. That's what I'm saying. There's no
the logic is not sound. And again, you cannot have a required belief in the religion be something as illogical as a virgin birth.
Where in the logic that I've laid out to you from the Catholic position, from Aquinas to the unseen author, to the miracles, to the people, like where is, because it's your prompt, where is the logic? You have to point to where it's illogical.
The logical break is that you have reduced your argument to one that doesn't meet what you're defending and supporting and trying to prove the logic of is not actually the Christian God. The Christian God is defined much more specifically by Christianity in the Bible and in tradition than what you're defending. You're defending a broad, energetic first mover, right? Like these are all nebulous things that could apply to any God. But the Christian religion requires certain things about God. Those specifics are illogical, but you keep trying to bypass them.
They're not. This is the Catholic position. I'm reading you from Thomas Aquinas. Thomas Aquinas is a church father. His writings are accepted by the church. And he gives the logical proof. I'm giving you the actual Catholic logical proof that has stood for 800 years and that you can't negate.
Flat Earth stood longer.
Huh? Go ahead.
Flat Earth stood longer than Aquinas' teachings, and at no point have you brought up Aquinas addressing the virgin birth. Bring up Aquinas on the virgin birth.
I don't know why you keep. See what you're trying to do is fool
everyone. I'm hammering the illogic point.
No, you're not, because it's not relevant to the religion whether or not it's logical. It doesn't matter. I already said this. Like certain points of the religion, not every single word has to be correct for the logic to stand. What you're trying to do is point to some inconsistency in the text and say that negates the entire logic of Christianity as laid out by Aquinas. It doesn't. It's not relevant how he got here. He could have came here down the chimney like Santa Claus. It doesn't affect the logic that I'm laying out. That's what I'm trying to say. You're pointing to something that is a straw man.
It's not a straw man. It's not, and you're treating it as insignificant when you yourself said it is essential to believe that to be a Christian.
No, I said it's part of the Christian faith. It's part of the canon. It's not essential to the logic. How many times?
That's your third time. Can you be a Christian and not believe in the virgin birth?
It's not essential to the logic of Christianity is the answer. That is the answer.
The logic of Christianity you're trying to lay out, it is essential for you to exclude these requirements of Christianity.
No, I'm giving you the logic as recorded by the church. This is the logic. I'm not making the logic.
Build the logic for this essential belief component. That's what you need to address to show that it's not illogical.
I want everyone out there to realize what's happening here is he's pointing to one thing in the text when I'm laying out a completely logical proof for the entirety of Christianity, and he's pointing to like this thing over here and ignoring the actual logical proof. That's what he's doing because he can't.
But you're ignoring the illogical point.
It doesn't make any sense.
You're ignoring the illogical point.
I told you from the Catholic position, not relevant. Whether or not
you are ignoring the illogical but essential components of Christianity that I keep bringing up.
Is it true? Is it logical? You're trying to smuggle this in to look like you won the debate. It's not going to work, dude. That's not the prompt. The prompt is it logical? The logic doesn't break down that I gave you if Mary isn't a virgin birth. It doesn't break down the logic. It doesn't matter.
This logical handrail you're trying so hard to hold on to.
For a long time there was, I'll prove it to you. I'm going to prove it. We can look at the example of the perpetual virginity of Mary. This is something that differs in different Christian groups. We know that Jesus had brothers and sisters. So some groups will say, oh, they weren't actually talking about his actual brothers and sisters. And some groups will say, oh, no, Mary was just a virgin until she had Jesus. And then she fulfilled her wifely duties and had other children. These are the brothers and sisters we're talking about. It doesn't matter. Even to Christians, it doesn't matter. The perpetual virginity doesn't matter. Whether or not it's not relevant to the logic. But you still have his shroud. He still came back from the dead.
You're just moving. No, you're doing straw man. That was the straw man. Perpetual virginity is a straw man.
Little details don't matter.
You just can't let me finish a thought, can you? You're spazzing out too hard because you know it's wrong.
Every time you open your mouth, I'm telling you the answer. That's not the proof.
The straw man is perpetual virginity. The not straw man, the crucial part of the religion is the virginity of Mary. for Jesus's birth. You acknowledge that. Now, since this is an essential part of the religion, can you please show me the logic to believe in that virgin birth? Because you keep walking past it because you know that you can't address it, even though it's required.
You're using it because you think like you got me on it. And what I'm saying is the logic, which I've already established, which you're not mentioning, is that if you're a Christian, it's perfectly logical to believe in the virgin birth, as you already believe that Jesus came from God and rose.
There's the qualifier, though. That's the qualifier. If you believe, if you have faith.
Right. So you just asked me from the Christian position to show you the logic. I showed it to you. That's the logic. No. If you believe in the whole story of Christianity, which is logical, then it doesn't matter if she's a virgin. Of course,
I said Christianity. No. I said Christianity is illogical. I didn't say from the Christian perspective, just from the human perspective. If and like you keep saying,
you have to look at our logic.
You keep saying yes, it does. Yes, it does. You keep acknowledging it when you say if you believe in Christianity. I'm saying it's illogical to believe in Christianity. Why would you believe in Christianity?
You're admitting you're straw manning. So what are you looking at? You just said that you don't have to look at Christian logic to say it's illogical. That is the definition of a straw man. That's what a straw man means. What? You're not looking at our logic. You're building your own logic. You can't say Christianity is illogical and not look at the Christian logic that I'm giving you. That's in
logic. Logic is in
books. You can look it up.
Logic is independent. No. Logic is independent of your religion. You recognize that, right?
I'm saying it's logical. It doesn't matter if it's true. I'm saying it's logical, which you can't disprove. You've yet to disprove in any of the aspects. You haven't disproved the miracles. You haven't disproved, all you did was make fun of them. You haven't disproved the billions of people that believe it. You haven't disproved Aquinas. You haven't disproved the unseen author. You haven't disproved any of it. None of it.
I'm not tasked with disproving them. I'm not tasked with disproving Our Lady of the Grilled Cheese. What I'm tasked with is showing that it is illogical to believe that Our Lady of Grilled Cheese means Christianity. That's bad logic to come to that conclusion because of the fucking grilled cheese sandwich.
So if an apparition of the Virgin Mary appeared on a cloth in front of hundreds of people, that with technology today we can look at her eyes and see those people standing there, that doesn't logically infer that Christianity is true?
No, it just means no.
If this, then that? How?
For a lot of reasons. One, just because we can't explain something doesn't mean that it must be Jesus. Two, if I'm doing an internal critique, that's idolatry, and demons can do miracles.
So even if that's true, you're still granting that it's true. Like even if you're saying, yeah, you are. Even if you're saying that it's not, it's a demon.
I granted it to answer the question. I answered your question as it was phrased. I wasn't granting that it was true. I have no statement on whether or not it's true. I acknowledge that it's a phenomenon that people talk about in history. Like that phenomenon has occurred. It's been documented. I don't know if it was actually tears of blood. I wasn't there.
Yeah, but we can test the shroud. There's blood on it. Like I said, it flowed from a human wound.
The shroud. I'm not going to lie. The shroud is the shroud. First of all, again, we're back to idolatry. But second of all, most importantly, the shroud is a terrible proof for Christianity. It's a terrible one. It's been dated to over 1,000 years late. I
already showed you that.
Obviously, there's a conflict of interest with relics entirely.
Dude, it matches the other face cloth that we have.
And your argument, you're making an argument from ignorance. Because we don't know of anybody else who wore a crown of thorns means that's an argument from ignorance.
Means that what? Therefore, you almost had it. And also with the shot of light that radiated from every portion of the body, it's a pretty logically sound argument to agree that that's Jesus. Like to think it's not. And we have the face cloth that lines up with it. All the wounds are exactly the same. They survived history separately, same blood type.
Again,
it's like the rarest blood type, like O or O.
Okay.
It's like, what are the chances, dude? They're zero. The chances are zero. You just won't.
Here's again. I'll walk you through good logic. Good logic, just like with the Lord of the Rings ring, says that if I get on Amazon I see a ring with Elvish writing on it, that came after the book. It makes most logical sense that the shroud came after the book. Can you give me one other example in our experience of a relic that came before the book?
I don't really see why it would matter. Yes, I can. This faulty logic. Yes, I can. There's multiple. It's so easy, dude. I can't even believe it. Like, there's multiple examples of people that claim that they have pieces of the true cross. If that came before the book.
Do you believe all of them?
No, not all of them, but I'm sure one of them or some of them probably have a piece of the cross. Why not? Why wouldn't they have saved it? Or one of the nails, people say they have it. My point is that it doesn't have to come before the book. The book would clearly come after, and the book describes the shroud. No. It's in the book. So I don't see where the logical inconsistency is. That's all. Whether or not it's true, Dusty, I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying it's logically sound. You can't say all these people are crazy for what they believe. There's logic behind it. It's not just a man in the sky.
Okay. If we're back to all these people believe it, more people don't believe it. So you still defeat yourself.
What is the requirements we're talking about logic for the law of reason? Did you look that up? I'll tell you right now.
I did not look it up. Go ahead and tell me.
That is a law of logic.
Tell me.
Law of reason. What are the criteria? I already told you. I know what they are. It's
okay. Well, we've already established that
often associated with natural law is the idea that there is a universal set of moral and logical principles discoverable through human intellect alone, right? So what this means is that if something has tangible evidence and multiple people, if it's reasonable,
no, it doesn't.
I'll read you. No. Yes, that's what it means. It cites two things:
through human intellect alone. It actually
multiple humans believe it.
It excludes the physical evidence. It says logic alone. Read that part again.
It's evidence is part of it. Even if it's not, if multiple people believe it, it's reasonable to believe it.
You just defeated yourself again.
I defeat myself because one law of reason has one criteria instead of another. It has nothing to do with
look here. We're getting close to the open panel. We're about out of time. So what I want to do, because we've gone all over the place, is I want to bring it back to the very first thing that happened in this debate is when you acknowledge that God doesn't have to adhere to the laws of logic.
I didn't say that. I said God is outside of time, space, and matter.
Does God have to adhere to the law of identity?
He's not in this universe. He doesn't have to adhere to anything in this universe. He doesn't exist here.
So you don't need logic in order for God. So basically you're saying
he wants.
He's illogical.
He's not illogical. He's the definition of logic, actually.
Well, apparently not, because he violates the law of identity.
Everything the way it is.
The Trinity itself violates the law of identity, which is a formal law of logic.
I already explained it to you. You need the spirit to interact. I already explained to you with the water. Things can be in multiple states. You need the spirit to interact here. We talked about the pneuma in Greek, that's the Holy Spirit here to interact. It's separate from the unmoved mover. And if you want to see him as a person, it's Jesus. Why is this so complicated for you?
Because at no point did you ever address the issue. Like what I said, God, and I think that you agree. God in Christianity is outside of logic. It's outside of reason. So the Trinity itself does not adhere to the law of identity.
No, I already gave you several examples, like water, like superposition.
But hold on,
you see how I'm giving multiple examples when I
No, and we'll walk through them one at a time. We're going to walk through those two one at a time. Well, like I said about water, it cannot be ice, steam, and water at the same time. It can change state, but it cannot. Okay, and then so the water one is a bad example. Also, superposition.
Water can be
that defies the laws of logic. So what you've done more thoroughly, you've made a better case for logic not existing than you have for Christianity being logical.
It doesn't in any way, because this is like other dimensional stuff that we're talking about. You're taking the logic and laws of this dimension and applying them to the supreme creator of the universe. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's like saying Tolkien couldn't do this thing in his book. He couldn't
But
do
it is the prompt.
He
But it is
do
the
whatever
prompt.
he want. He wrote it a certain way and he follows the rules of the story, but it doesn't mean that he couldn't do it a different way. It doesn't say anything about the nature of Tolkien, the laws that are in the Lord of the Rings. This is what you're not understanding. You keep trying to prove that it's not true, but you can't break down the logic. I gave you the very simplified version there. Like, you need God that's outside of the story to write the story. You need the Spirit to interact before God takes human form, and then you need human form in Jesus. Where is the flaw in the logic?
You have not made a logical case for Christianity. Hold on, let me finish. For Christianity, you keep trying to make the logical case for an unmoved mover, but not for the Christian God.
I already connected them. I just said.
No, you didn't. All you said is that the guy who argued for. All you said is that Aquinas believed the connection that you made is a default to authority. That's bad logic.
I'm giving you the logic. The logic, I'll give it to you one more time. God, outside of material universe, not in time, space, and matter, needs the Spirit before he takes incarnate form to interact in this world. When he wants to interact with us as a human, needs to take human form. Obviously, how could you interact as a human without taking human form? This is nonsense. It's
what you said, no, you're shifting what you said. You said
all night.
You said to interact with humans, he has to take human form. I read you a Bible verse that shows that he could interact through a donkey, and now you're shifting your position.
To see his face, he has to have a face. Where is the flaw in that logic?
But Andrew, that's not what you said earlier.
You want to see
that's not what you said earlier.
Yes, that's Jesus. If you want to interact with God,
that's what you're saying now. That's what you're saying now.
Where is the flaw in the logic? I've been saying it all night.
What you said earlier is that God has to take human form to interact with humans.
As a human. Yes,
that's what you're adding now. That's definitely not what you said earlier.
No, I said he can interact with the pneuma. I specifically made the case that this is not just the Spirit. Straw man. I specifically made that case. So again, you're straw manning me, trying to prove like that I said something wrong, and you're trying to spin me around to catch me in a flaw in the logic. But Dusty, this is not something that I figured out yesterday. This is like my life's work. I know what I'm talking about. It's logical. You can't break the logic. Whether or not you think it's true is a different story, but you can't say it's illogical. It's not.
I've caught you in a ton of illogics. The issue that we're running into now is cognitive dissonance. Because it's your life work, you have cognitive dissonance that maybe you were mistaken about something.
No, I'm not saying it's true. See, that's what I mean. This is the same conflation you've been making all night, the same reduction of argument because you can't actually tackle the logic. A reduced argument to is it true? That's what you're doing all night.
Because Andrew, the logical handrail that you're trying to cling on to does not support Christianity specifically.
It does, because how else could God interact with you with a face? What other religion does God have a face?
I don't have any idea in what religions God has a face.
Oh, you might need Christianity.
Wait, hold on. What the fuck does that have to do with the logic of whether or not Christianity is good logical?
Because this is the only religion where you could ever logically see God. How is this a hard concept to understand? No other
Hebrew and Judaism, they saw God.
He's not a person. When he becomes
I'm not claiming that God had a face.
Right. So if you want to see him and talk to him and see a face, he has to take the form of a human. What is wrong with him?
You have got to bring the goalpost back.
I'm giving you the logic for why.
No, you're not. You're stealing the
only religion that makes sense. The only one, to be honest. Like the rest of them, you'll never see God. You'll never speak to him. You'll never interact with him. You can't. Not like you are now. It's impossible. That's why every near-death experience that's on record, who do they see? They see Jesus.
They see. Hold on.
Even when it's atheist, they come back.
No. Look, I've read a ton of near-death experiences. I spent 4 months in jail having my mom print out and send in letters of near-death experience stories from the near-death experience reference, nderef.org. I know of near-death experiences, and you know who sees Jesus? Only the Christians.
No, people have converted.
No, you're wrong. You're dead ass wrong. You're dead ass wrong.
No one has converted. That wasn't.
When people die, when maybe one or two did, but the vast majority of people after near-death experience, they are less religious. They are more spiritual. They are less religious. And if they see a religious figure or an ancestor, they see the one that they expect to see.
That isn't true.
Yes, it is. Yes, it fucking is.
We actually have extensive research on near-death experiences.
Let's go ahead and because I think we've become cyclical. Let's go ahead and maneuver over into closing statements. While you're doing your closing statements, I'm going to go ahead and release the StreamYard link for open panel. So if anybody wants to start shuffling backstage, you'll be able to do so here in just a second. Andrew, why don't you kick us off with your closing statement, please?
Yeah, I was just looking up what Dusty was saying. I'm trying to get to the numbers. I probably won't now, but I can put it in the chat later. But even like the first line that I see, a notable percentage of atheists and agnostics specifically identify a Christ-like figure during the experience, leading to a subsequent conversion to Christianity. So we can go further and find out exactly how many it is, but even the internet says a notable percentage. So it's not one or two. I'll get you the exact numbers. I didn't have it handy, but I'm telling you, multiple people, even atheists and agnostics. So what's happened here tonight, and I want you guys to understand one critical difference. I'm not saying that Christianity is true. That's not the claim that I'm defending or fighting against here. What I'm saying is that it's logical. And you can't say that the religion that literally has Thomas Aquinas, the father of Christian logic, is illogical. It's an illogical statement in itself. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense that the one that science keeps proving right is the illogical one. Like I said, science disproves Aquinas's theories against God and proves through relativity his theories for God, that there's a necessary first mover. So, and science does this over and over. We keep finding things from the Bible. We're digging them up all the time that prove multiple stories true. So Dusty is not at all gotten to any of the logic that I gave, whether it's Aquinas's proofs or how God interacts on this planet, the unseen author, why we need Jesus to interact with him, or how it's logical that you would believe in the rest of Christianity if you believed in this basic part, even that. And we didn't even get to how it's just logical for Christianity to believe in Christianity because it produces the best results on society. We didn't even get there. So let alone, like, just that alone, it's reasonable. So let alone the miracles that his whole, just remember this before he goes. His whole argument, I was dismantling things, showed you the meteor, showed you the flaws in logic. Specifically, his argument was this way. His argument was chocolate milk. Thank you.
I love chocolate milk.
That was his argument, chocolate milk. I don't see how to win this debate.
Thank you, Andrew. And Dusty, to you, sir.
I don't know how my argument was chocolate milk, but I do like chocolate milk. I feel like even if my argument was chocolate milk, it still would have won the debate. I'm a little bit curious what prompt you typed into ChatGPT to come up with the response that people convert to Christianity, but that's sort of a tangent. It's not really the point. The point is that the logical structure you try, and let me give Andrew props. He put thought into this. If I had been more of a cooperative person, maybe he could have had a case. However, unfortunately for Andrew, his religion has a lot of illogical beliefs that are required. Like he confirmed, it is a required belief to be a Christian that you believe in the virgin birth. I didn't ask him this explicitly, but given the conversation we just had, I think it's also reasonable of me to consider to conclude that he believes it is a required belief for a Christian to believe in the Trinity, which I know that he does. These things provide good examples of illogical but essential beliefs to be a Christian. He did not address those. He never straightened out the logic of the virgin birth. He just said it was a straw man and tried to ignore it. He never addressed the illogic of the Trinity, which specifically violates the law of identity, the first law of formal logic. Again, he just sort of moved past it. He did acknowledge that God doesn't have to adhere to logic, which in my mind is a concession that it is illogical. Even Christianity itself, it leans on faith. Faith is an illogical belief. The final thing that he just mentioned in the outro that, or in his closing, that I want to address is the claim, again, the unfounded claim that Christianity is better for society than what? I don't know. Apparently than for everything. Insignificant to whether or not it's a logical belief system. I'm landed.
Thank you.
Fair enough. Thank you, both gentlemen. This was actually really fun to. I was thinking of something the whole time, though, and I had to kind of Google it to see if humans were logical. And the summary here tells me that humans are actually not, like, we're capable of logic, but we're not inherently or purely logical. So I thought of like the P1, P2 concept, and I thought humans are illogical. Humans believe in Christianity, therefore Christianity is illogical. That's the only way I could come up with it to where it works in that essence. Now, if this had been, is Christianity rational, Dusty, you would have lost based on the P1, P2 concept right there, because humans are rational beings. And that's how we come to our decisions, so on and so forth. But the logical piece would have been kicked out got kicked out pretty quickly on that. All right.
Can I real quick to that point? Like I agree that I actually think that humans are more illogical than they are logical. And so it would make sense. Which has its own sort of logic, I suppose, but we're tribal and we're primarily emotional. I know that we like to think that we're logical, but really what we do is we justify the decisions that we choose to make emotionally after the fact, and then like to pretend that we're logical. So I agree, humanity itself is illogical.
Fair enough. All right. And to the dipshit that keeps spurging in my private chat, shut the fuck up. Don't chat back there. That is logistics only. If you want to spurg in the regular chat, but that's very distracting over here on our end. Keep it up and I'll just kick you out. Yeah, not you, AP. All right. We're going to get through the super chats that came in. And then, of course, we're going to bring on the panel. We'll run through each question at a time, and then we will go into full gauntlet mode. Linda sends in the big 5 over to Andrew just to say hello to you. Zippy comes in with the big 5 over on Andrew's side, says Christianity has historical evidence and consistency. Andrew, did you want to say anything to that?
Thank you, Linda RR, and thank you, Zippy. Both you supporters, thank you so much. You guys are legends. Thank you.
Perfect. Dusty, did you have anything to add into that?
I would just say that is a claim, but without evidence, right? So, but you know, I appreciate the views and the support, even if it's for the opposing side.
Mm-hmm. Yep, for sure. All right. Andy comes up with a big 5. I hope Andy jumps on panel. Andy says A equals A holds, but the Father is God is not a statement of person-to-person identity. God names the divine essence what, not a divine person who. Dusty, do you have any thoughts on that? Because you're the one that kept bringing that one up.
Let me read it again. Yeah, no, I think it's just I've heard this claim. I'm going to throw out a guess that Andy is Orthodox. God is an entity, right? If you look up only in these religious nitty-gritty conversations you get to the point where people have to shift what God is. Here, the divine essence, what is that? That's energy. That's some new age shit. But we're talking about God the being, God who's jealous, God who's the Father, right? Whether you're looking at the Old Testament or the New Testament, God is personified. He's not just treated as an essence. I understand that it makes it a more defensible position if you reduce God from a personified entity into an energy, but that just again, all you're doing is kind of negating God's existence to make the argument hold.
Okay. Any thoughts to that, Andrew?
Yeah, again, it's a straw man of the position. He's saying that Christians do believe, like we really do think that it's more than that. We're just lying. No, that's the position. It's perfectly logical that the creator of the story is not in the story. Like, I don't see, like, the reason we don't use the word entity or accept it is because, like, this is something we can't understand. We have no grasp of what God is. So we're not going to call him an entity so you could, like, shoot it. It's nothing that we even have words for. We can't explain it. So why reduce it? That would be reducing it. That would actually be reducing it to something in this material reality.
Then how could you believe in it? How can you believe in something you can't explain or understand?
Like Einstein said, you have to listen to the sound the spheres make. You have to see in the universe the order to know that God wants you to experience this beauty and natural good in the world, to then build on that logic to see how he interacts with you. That's why.
So you're saying that you believe in something you don't understand?
Yes, of course. Nobody understands God. Of course, bro.
So then how could
you possibly understand?
How could I, so then is there such thing as an atheist? How could I disbelieve something I don't understand?
That's why it's such a stupid position. Like, and that's why you even granted the Aquinas proofs, because it's not logical to, like, believe that this is just an accident. And you know that. So if there is an intelligent designer, therefore it's not illogical to think that he would want to interact with us. He just builds the whole thing and doesn't want to interact. Why?
Well, real brief. Why do Christians seem to have a problem with faith?
Faith without works is dead. Have you ever heard that quote? Right. So it's not just about faith. You have to do the work. You have to believe it. It's the same thing they talk about in manifestation. You have to prayer and manifestation are the same thing. You have to feel as if it's not God. Can I please have this? It's like, no, you have to feel as if you have to be grateful. Like you already got it. This is faith. It's not illogical. You just are believing.
That's also manifestation.
It's the same thing. It's the same principle. They're just not accounting it to God, but it's the same exact thing, and it works.
I would actually agree with you. Just in my personal beliefs, I'm not saying that it's really pertinent to the argument or the debate, but personally, I agree with you. I think that actually they are the same thing.
Thank you. I do too.
Okay. Handsome cat. That's a handsome little kitten. With Big Five says.
That's a creepy fucking kitten. What are you talking about?
Is that a person or a kitten?
I think it's a face swap. Yeah. God being a divine essence is illogical nonsense because no one worships an essence or a nature. By that logic, all polytheists are monotheists.
Yep. And that would be, I believe, nature worship.
Thoughts to you, Andrew?
I'm sorry, I was reading the chat. Can you just repeat it? It was this chat. God being a divine essence is illogical nonsense because no one worships an essence or a nature. By that, no, I don't really understand what he's trying to say.
So like, the spiritual people that do like the crystals and shit and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you guys always like to make fun of them, but when you're saying what Handsome Cat I think is saying, well, if God is a divine essence, that's illogical nonsense because nobody worships an essence or a nature. By that logic, all polytheists are monotheists, but it's kind of putting them in the wonky division.
Yeah, we're just saying that because it's not in this reality. So, like, we don't have a word for it. We're limited by the language that we have. You're asking us to describe the indescribable, and I think we're making a pretty good case for it. Like, being that we're describing the indescribable by definition. So that's why we call it that.
Okay. Zippy says, I'm never going to want to hear the word logic again after tonight. I don't blame you.
Don't blame me.
I don't blame you. We had a very long open panel over on Gauntlet the other night, just recently, and the word logic was probably dropped like 3,189 times. So be prepared. And I mean, we could even get into arguing logic, which is what we did on that panel the other night
You did
too.
it again.
So yeah. Huh?
You did it again. You said the word again. I personally want to apologize to Zippy for overplaying the word. It's like Matchbox 20.
Is it logical to believe we wouldn't say the word logic during an entire debate
Now you're
about
just being sadistic.
Rude Mudcrabbing with the big 5? There's more Muslims by his logic of numbers. He is wrong. I believe that was on your ad what's that? What is that fallacy? Anyways, where you said, oh, well, there's thousands and millions of Christians or whatever it was who believe in this. And I think Rude Mudcrab said there's more Muslims. So by your logic of numbers, you are wrong, which would mean that it would be if numbers are what makes the logic, then that's illogical.
There it is again.
Logic. Any thoughts to that, Andrew?
It's hard for me to think logically anymore. Yeah, so we already went over this, that even the Muslims agree that Jesus was this very important person. So it's still perfectly logical. It doesn't negate it in any way.
In all fairness, it was hard for you to speak or to think logically to begin with.
Yeah, there you go. I'm the one with the grilled cheese responses, right? Remember that.
I got the chocolate milk, man. We're going to have a good-ass picnic.
That's what it was.
Tootie Bug sent in the Big 10 and says, panel goals. Shout out to you for a kind reminder to the audience. You have, because you got one over on the other side too, but you have 5 more to go and only 12 minutes to get there. Let's make it a happy tomato show. Carpenter Tom sends in the Big 20. I was asking for dad jokes earlier, and he did deliver. A man is talking to God. God, how long is 1,000,000 years? God answers, to me, it's about a minute. God, how much is $1 million? To me, it's a penny. God, may I have a penny? Wait a minute. And Tom says again, who was the greatest financer in the Bible? Noah. He floated a company while the rest of the world was in liquidation. Shout out to you. See? I knew it was going to be a good when it came in the door. And congratulations to the lucky lottery winners. I sent out a few freebies. We get freebies every month we can hand out, and you're welcome. And then, of course, Tootie followed suit, handing out 5 more Raging Tomato gifted memberships. Shout out to you, Tootie, and congratulations to you lucky lottery winners. Alex Kirsch Project is backstage waiting to come on and destroy Andrew with one bite. He says, worst Sunday school ever. Yes, this is a terrible Sunday school version.
Maybe he hasn't seen the chat.
What chap?
I don't think that they agree with him. That's the worst Sunday school ever.
Fair enough. Carpenter Tom, last one, and then we'll bring our panel up. Tom says, sorry, Dusty, love you, but miracles are not illogical. They are extra natural, but that is different from being illogical. This guy, though, I think that shot fired is at you, Andrew.
I made that case. You can't take my argument and then be like, this guy. Okay.
I don't recall ever arguing. I don't recall ever arguing against miracles to begin with.
That was the Virgin Mary. It's considered to be like the Immaculate Conception is considered to be a miracle.
Well, I mean, can we define a miracle? What is a miracle? Something supernatural.
Well, he says they're extra natural, but that is different from being illogical.
It's still believing in something supernatural or extra natural, which is just supernatural with new packaging. The belief in that is illogical.
Why? Just because you say so?
No, it's illogical. It's an illogical belief. If you tell me that you walked on water, it would be illogical of me to believe that, because I have a body of experiential evidence that people don't walk on water. Your claim, and I also have a body of experiential evidence that humans lie. Also, we got scripture that confirms that humans are all liars. So for me to come to the conclusion that you're telling the truth instead of lying is illogical.
Yeah, but by that definition, you could never believe in a miracle, ever. Like, you could say that to anything.
You can never believe in a word of mouth miracle, sure. But if you witness something,
you can never believe in anything extraordinary because you're basing everything on your ordinary. The point is that it's extraordinary. That's the point.
Let me repeat it. It is always illogical to believe someone else's claim of a miracle.
It should be illogical.
I guess
it should be illogical for you to take it without evidence, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you have evidence
humans are illogical, so it's logical that humans would deem it illogical to believe in miracles. Therefore, miracles are illogical.
But we do.
I'm not sure I followed that, but I like where you landed.
Yeah, that would work if we didn't have evidence, but we do.
Humans are illogical. Humans believe in miracles. Therefore, miracles are illogical. But it's logical that illogical humans believe that miracles are illogical.
The only thing I have to say back to that is
logic. That means logic is illogical itself.
Chocolate milk.
Chocolate milk.
Zippy sending in 5 DragonFist TV memberships. So kind of you. Thank you so kindly. Following suit with everyone else. All right. I've got a full stacked panel backstage waiting to come up and play. Gentlemen. Yeah.
Can I blast through my supers real quick?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I have to use the bathroom.
Rude Cunt Crabson in 5 said, God is in the story. He intervenes everywhere. Also, Jesus is God, ? Rude sent in another 5. He said, independent test dated the cloth to the 13th to 14th century, inconsistent with the 1st century time of Christ. Andy sent in 5, said, Moses saw God directly. God showed Moses his back when he put Moses in the crevice. And God also told Aaron that he speaks to Moses face to face. Forgot about that. Good point. Rude sends in another 5. He says, God won't be happy with you, meaning me, giving him, meaning Andrew, a few inches. That is true. Earlier when I said I'm trying to give you a few inches and you keep taking a mile. Tootie Bug sends in $10, says, whoop that trick with musical notes. And then the last one, Andy sends in 5 and says, God interacts with humans outside of human form repeatedly in the Torah. Did you forget? Why do you keep saying that? I don't know. Thank you to all the donors.
All right. Fair enough. Let's go ahead and get our panel up here. Let's have some fun. First ones up, first ones in. As most of you know, I've kind of changed a little bit of the format for open panel, at least post debate. We're going to go one at a time. That means everyone. Oops, why did I switch that over? Everyone else on the panel is going to mute up themselves right now. If not, I can gladly do it for you.
You can do it for me, but I have to say, Dusty, we meet again.
We do. And I have to say, teabag, motherfucker.
I love you, brother.
Oh, bad positioning on that one. All right. We're going to start with Alex. You each get one question, quick follow-up. Be mindful that everyone else is sitting here waiting for you to finish your question so that they can move around the table so that they can have their turn too. And then once everybody gets their question and answer out, then we will move into full gauntlet mode, and then it will be open floor. In the meantime, everybody else shut the fuck up. All right, Alex, kick us off, please.
Yeah, so obviously my question is going to be for Andrew. Do you follow the transcendental argument that if
God exists, knowledge exists, so therefore if knowledge exists, God exists?
I would have to look up the Catholic position on it. My brain is shot at the moment. Is it a Catholic position? If it is, probably logically sound.
Well, what difference would it make if it was Catholic? If it were
Catholic.
Well, okay, so the reason why I asked that is because there doesn't seem to be a general consensus among all Christian religions. There's 40,000 different denominations of the Christian religion. And so if you say, well, if it's Catholic, then obviously it's true. Well, how do you know the Catholic is true? But I don't want to take up too much time.
Well, that's the answer. That's why I said that. It's not just because I default to whatever the Catholics say. I've actually been to many churches in my life, different types of churches, different places. The reason that I like Christianity is for exactly that reason, because I have thousands of years of people I trust that are way smarter than me, that already went over all of this. So I can research back and look at what the church fathers say about it. And if it's logically sound, then yeah, I don't think there's much in there that would, for the main tenets like that, that's illogical to the whole. Why are you saying it's not logical?
Yeah, I pretty much am, because I don't want to take up too much time, but long story short, I am an atheist. I don't think any real religion is logically sound. I'm not saying that there's not logical people, but I'm simply saying the concept and the idea of us coming from a mystical sky daddy that we cannot prove, see, hear, taste, or feel, I don't find it really logical to really believe in something like that. But let's go and move on to something else.
Position. That's the opposite of the position. See, if you actually understood the position, you would think it's logical. But when you say it like that, that's a complete straw man. It's not a sky daddy. First of all, it's not. It's perfectly logical that the creator would be outside the creation. That's perfectly logical. I don't see when you say sky daddy. It makes it sound stupid. All we're saying is that there's a creator outside of the creation, not a sky daddy. That's not the position. So yeah, that position is illogical. Yeah, I agree. That's not my position.
All right, we'll move on to Effigy. Effigy, your question, please.
Andrew, you used the word logic a lot tonight, and I'm not quite sure you understand what it means. But you brought up Aquinas quite a lot, and Aquinas's 5 proofs are not even used in modern religious debate as some kind of winner. So I'm really curious as to why you think that all of those have not been debunked when all of them have. I mean, his first argument is an argument for motion, which was debunked by a better understanding of physics. Not every mover his first argument is that motion requires a continuous mover, when we know that that's not true anymore, because motion is not a state, it's a process. So like right off the bat, he gets something wrong because they didn't have a proper understanding of physics. Yet you're sitting there touting these proofs as though they haven't been logically debunked, which every single one of them has.
They actually haven't. I've read all the rebuttals of Aquinas's proofs. The most famous one is not the one you're citing. I'm surprised that's the one you're citing, because we know from the fact, Effigy, that you cannot produce a perpetual motion machine. It's impossible. It's a myth. You can't produce one. The reason for that is you need some type of energy. You need some type of mover. That's relativity. I don't know why you're saying that this has been debunked. The main argument against Aquinas is that he's reaching for that conclusion, that it doesn't have to be God. That's like the main. I forgot what the word they use is. But it's not even the argument that you're making. So if you could point to me to like a perpetual motion machine or something else in the universe that moves on its own without a mover, that doesn't have an equal and opposite reaction, then you could say it's not logically sound. But they're certainly not debunked, and Catholics certainly still use them. I just heard Bishop Barron.
Yes, he does, though. Like he's saying motion requires a continuous mover, and we know that motion is stopped from inertia.
No,
motion is
an unmoved
state,
mover,
not a
an
process.
initial mover. That's the logical proof. It's an unmoved mover. It's called the unmoved mover. It's not.
Right, well, that's another one. His other one is cause, right? So he says that everything has to have a cause, but
they're similar,
except the thing that doesn't have a cause, right? It's a special pleading argument. You're giving a characteristic to something right after saying that everything needs a cause, except the thing that causes. It's totally special pleading. Half the arguments you've made are special pleading. You're adding characteristics to things to get out of logical arguments.
I'm actually
you're constantly doing it.
Not giving it characteristics. I'm saying it has no characteristics that are in this universe. I'm granting that. And it's something that we can't possibly understand. And that's what we call God. That's not special pleading. That's
Sure it is.
This is
if it
the
doesn't
argument.
require a cause, then it's simpler for me to say the universe doesn't
giving
require
you
a
the
cause, and I don't have
rebuttal
to add
of the
this
rebuttal.
complex thing on top of
I'm
it.
not making it up. I'm giving you the rebuttal of the rebuttal, as the special pleading argument is the only argument that anyone ever makes against Aquinas, and it's wrong. All we're doing is pointing to a specific conclusion. When you look at all 5 proofs and you have intelligent
Giving it a
design,
special
the
property.
unmoved mover, no, we're pointing to intelligent design and saying it's God. That's the conclusion. We're just pointing to the conclusion, and you're saying special pleading because you don't like the word that we use. We're just saying this is the conclusion, an unmoved mover, intelligent design. That's it.
Oh, you're saying
That's
the thing that applies to
conclusion.
everything doesn't apply to this. That's
That's
why it's
the
special
conclusion
pleading.
of those proofs.
No,
Intelligent
it's special
design,
pleading.
unmoved mover. That is the conclusion.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to Brick. Brick, I know you're going after Dusty probably. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Don't you ask me a damn question.
Oh boy. I do apologize ahead of time because I am probably going to do that a few times. I will try to limit how many I do. I believe Andrew is a plant, but beyond that,
Poor Andrew.
Oh, poor Andrew. My fellow believer. So essentially, logic relies on conclusion. Every one of the 3 laws relies on conclusion. The very first one. Very first one. Oh, you don't agree with that?
Logic relies on premises, not conclusions.
So premises, that's just another word for a conclusion. The law of identity, the very first one, is a conclusory statement that this is what we will call this thing. It's a conclusion. That's all it is. It's your mind telling you that this is an accurate statement.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You're wrong, but go ahead.
Okay, fair enough. I'm going to draw your attention to what would be called maybe the Waterworld example.
Great movie.
Was it logical for those people to believe that there was dry land or horses?
You know, it's been so long since I saw the movie that I don't know.
Don't avoid. Was it logical?
I don't know. I don't remember it's been years since I saw the movie.
Well, you remember that the people lived on the water on the atoll, or I forget exactly, Anatole or whatever it was called, and then there was a myth.
You're stressing vibe out. Can you just try to make your point without asking me to recall?
Was it logical for them to believe?
I don't know. I don't remember the movie that well.
You know what? That's fair because you are agnostic. But for me, it would stand to reason, right? Especially to draw a conclusion, a logical premise that there was dry land.
Okay.
Because there was a lot of evidence. They had faith.
Okay.
By the way, faith is also based on evidence, not just a leap.
It's called a leap of
faith.
Logic?
Words,
there's
evidence.
Because it requires a leap. Also, just so that you and Andrew and anybody else maybe vibe to, just so that you guys know, here's a good way to know when you're doing special pleading. In my opinion, or if you use the phrase for Christians, if you're quantifying or qualifying your answer, that's probably that's the look a little closer. Is this special pleading? So I don't know the answer to your question.
No,
I apologize. Katie, we're watching Waterworld tonight.
It is a great movie. It's actually on YouTube, so anybody who wants to see that later on, once everybody's done with panels, not now, watch this.
I'm sorry for interrupting, but this has to be said. This man cannot be believed. He just lost all of his credibility. Waterworld is not a good movie. Thank you.
What? Dang, Dusty. You got brutalized.
Shots fired.
Well, I respect your wrongness. Like it's.
I will give you that belief is that leap, but I don't believe that it's illogical to take certain leaps.
Okay.
All right. AP to you, sir. Thoughts, questions, comments, fuck yous?
Yeah, my question is for the Indian guy from Short Circuit. What did you describe today that could also not be explained by space aliens? Why would I believe in Christianity over alien overlords? Go.
Is he talking to me?
Yes.
No one else looks like the Indian guy from Short Circuit, bro.
I was thinking the same thing too. I was thinking everything he was talking about, especially the intelligent design portion that he was quoting. I was also thinking, well, you could put that as the same token as aliens.
Because the title of the debate is it's illogical to believe in Christianity.
This is what you
and I want to know why I should believe in Christianity. If I was a guy who never heard of either, why would I believe in Christianity with what you're describing over like space aliens?
This is the guy you think I look like? Dude.
He was a white guy too that looked like an Indian, dude. It's not. I'm not calling you an Indian. I'm just saying you look like the guy from Short.
I'm definitely not Indian.
Okay, look at Short Circuit 2. You look more like the sequel. More importantly, what have you described today?
I look from the guy without a camera.
What have you described today that could not also be explained by space aliens? So I could give your belief structure the edge over ancient aliens or whatever.
Aliens can't be the unmoved mover.
Yes, they can. They have technology you can't possibly understand. You've been speaking as you. Here's my problem, bro. You've been both speaking as an authority on something for the last hour and also admitting that it's something nobody can understand and you don't understand it and all that stuff.
I just said there has to be a first cause. It can't be aliens. They're already existing in this universe. There has to be an unmoved mover.
But you can't explain aliens. Maybe they exist outside of this universe.
They're moving in this universe. Like, what are you talking about, dude?
What do you mean? Describe an alien to me with perfect certainty.
Okay, so what is the difference? Like, you don't like the word God?
There is no fucking difference. That's the point.
One exists in material. No, you can't just say it like
you don't know. You can't tell me what an alien is, just like I can't tell you what a God is.
Yeah, these words have definitions, so I can't.
I mean, yeah, I know, but you can't stick to one definition. You've gone from an all-knowing being to an essence to nature in the course of the last 3 hours when people ask you the wrong questions.
It's someone inside this material reality from another planet or universe or galaxy. So it doesn't fit the definition of the unmoved mover.
What about interdimensional beings?
Doesn't fit the definition.
I think it does. They have technology you can't explain, just like you can't explain God's technology.
If you want to call God an interdimensional being, then fine. I don't care what word you use for it. There has to be.
You just said words have definitions, though. Words were super important like 30 seconds ago. What are you talking about? Words mean everything.
It's logically consistent. What I'm saying is you can call God. That's why I don't call it a being, because
so I can call him an alien.
I guess if you want, it's a stupid thing to call him because that
implies
in context. But you could say it's an interdimensional alien, the supreme one.
You see how you're kind of in the corner right now, dancing from one foot to another.
I didn't say he was any particular thing. I said that's the whole point. Is he's
then how can you be here arguing for something you don't understand and isn't anything and takes whatever is convenient? You get that power right then. You're like a fucking cartoon character in a superhero cartoon. You just get whatever power is convenient. Then that's what God does. No. Jesus blasts light through every part of his body like Goku when it's convenient for you.
It's hilarious.
Adonis, are you a cartoon character?
No.
And yes, I'm valid. And that's why it means the most coming from me when I say that he has a cartoon belief structure.
You're not even
making Jesus went Super Saiyan?
Like, what is your
point? That I would love to believe, even though I don't. I'd love to believe it.
What are you saying? Like, I already said we can't describe God.
I'm
saying that you're arguing something you yourself can't describe in the very least. And it's very silly that you're passionate about something that changes every time someone gives you an inconvenient question.
No, it doesn't.
It could also reflect something else. All right, let's go ahead and move on to Vibe. Vibe, I know you're probably going for Dusty here. Go ahead.
No, I'm actually going to go for both of them, right? I'm Christian, you know that. I love Andrew. I love Dusty. Debate prompt is great, but it is ambiguous, right? So we have here, the prompt is it logical? So if we look at society and we just go, hey, what are the Christian ethics? Is that logical for society? Well, until about 30 years ago, for the whole world, everybody would say it's logical. Okay, go on, Dusty.
You just rewrote the prompt. Nobody asked about Christian ethics or about 30 years ago.
No, is Christianity logical, right?
It's illogical
is that
to
not
believe.
The
no, it's illogical
is it logical to
believe
in Christianity? So we have that first prompt, which is it logical? If it's good for society, would that be logical? Or, and to give you some credit, Dusty here, or is it logical to believe in God? Right, which would be believing in Christianity. So we have two prompts here. One, Andrew could win. One, actually, I think you still win, but I would say you both are illogical. Which one do you
But
guys
I mean,
want to attack?
you just rewrote the prompt to answer what you want to answer. You literally strawman.
No. I'm not strawmanning. I'm saying the prompt can be interpreted two different ways. I'm asking which way did you guys want to interpret that?
Do you think that logic is ambiguous, or do you think that Christianity is ambiguous? Because those are really the two key words in the prompt.
Well, you're saying Christianity is illogical. So we can take that prompt and we can say, is it illogical for humanity?
Believing in Christianity is illogical, and there is a difference.
Okay, so believing in Christianity, would you say is illogical if it actually has good effect on
Pragmatic.
society?
You're asking if it's pragmatic, not if it's illogical.
Trust
me. I made the prompt so that you people couldn't do this.
I brought
and by
that
you
up.
people, I mean you black.
Yeah.
I'll grant you that, and I'll concede to that. I read the prompt. I'm like, we can take this two different ways. So you took it the other way. So the other way, I would say, is which you still win, Dusty, on this one. Is I personally think that Andrew's position and your position are both illogical. We have these theories of the Big Bang. We have some alternative theories, but nobody knows. And those in the secularist world call it X, and those in the Christian world call it God. The people in the religious world still strive to figure out how God did this. Those in the secularist world still strive to figure out the answer to X, but nobody knows. The most logical explanation would be that none of us exist in the first place. However, here we are on a panel. Therefore, we know that's not true. So both prompts or both sides are illogical. However, I have to concede again to you, Dusty, that you win in this because you're not actually saying my side's logical. All I'm saying in this comment is that both sides are illogical. So you lose, he loses, you win the prompt.
I'm not going to lie, I zoned out halfway through that, but what I think is happening is that you acknowledge that I won without conceding your illogical belief. Is that what happened?
No, just based on the prompt. You didn't win on the argument. You won on the prompt.
I have a question.
Fair enough.
So you said you're a Christian. I laid out the logic of Christianity. Like where was it not logical specifically? Which part?
So if we're looking at as a Christian, I believe in my Christianity. I will not renounce it. I've had many conversations with Dusty. I've had testimonies. I have like more testimonies I can even acknowledge. However, I can't prove them to you, Andrew. I can't prove them to Dusty. I can't prove these things to anybody, right? It's just something I know. And it sucks. It really sucks, right?
I got news for you.
And when I go on panels, I've gone on atheist panels, and I can give all these testimonies of like, I'm very accurate on how the Bible was created, the accuracy, and the one flaw, the only thing that I cannot prove is in the whole thing is, did Jesus rise? Right? That's the only thing.
Can you prove that the virgin birth or the talking snakes or the parting seas or Lazarus?
Well, now we're going into the Old Testament in allegory versus factual and history.
I mean, Jesus,
but the whole Bible is actually a story about the story is not
another
about
Christian who doesn't believe the Bible.
I was just going to say that. I agree with
I believe in the
You're
Bible.
a Christian that thinks Christianity is illogical. Like, why should we listen to you? Like, you clearly are confused.
Well,
you're a Christian who thinks Christianity is illogical. What are we even talking
about? Andrew,
what are we talking about?
What we're talking about is like if we're using logic in today's sense of science and proof, and I can give you hard evidence. I actually can give you evidence that Jesus existed. I mean, 99.9% of all scholars out there say, whether they're secular, believe that Jesus exists. No, look it up, Dusty. Look it up right now. The majority, Google it, Grok it, whatever.
Majority of Bible scholars who came from biblical colleges.
No, No, the majority of
Most people believe
secularists and the
Jesus existed. It's just a matter of what you believe he represents. Was he just a
Correct.
man, maybe a prophet, or maybe somebody that had just good teachings, or do you believe he is the Son of God? Now, that belief system is what varies across the board, but most
that's exactly what I'm talking about, right?
Most people believe he existed, and most people believe the talking point keeps moving around, not because there's not a single first-hand account of Jesus during his lifetime, not one.
Yeah, there's sources from outside the gospel, like Josephus.
100 years later. 100 years later.
He's alive when Jesus was alive.
Hold on. Okay, so we can compare two people. We can compare Jesus and we can compare Socrates. Socrates never wrote anything. Jesus never wrote anything. Historians all agree by the historical evidence that they existed. Now, that doesn't mean that Jesus was the Son of God.
I don't understand why Christians have to lie so much to support God. Can't he?
No, look this up, Dusty. Look it up right now. Pull it up on the screen.
There's Roman documents that were found that talk about the crucifixion that happened to Jesus.
Josephus was born 40 years after Jesus died, and he did not at no point did he ever verify Jesus was an actual being. He talks about Jesus in context of the Christians, which was a growing sect at that time. You guys got to stop lying about shit. Go ahead, Vibe.
Okay, once again, I keep on asking, pull up the information that says I'm wrong, that most secularists and Christians
I'm not accepting
agree on this. I'm not going from a Christian view here. Sure. All right, so you just don't want to acknowledge that this is actually.
You pull it up. It's your claim. You pull it up. I'm not taking homework assignments.
This was a Roman senator and considered one of the greatest Roman historians. Key passage. Consequently, to get rid of the report, Nero, he talks about Jesus. I'm not going to read the whole passage.
What year was Tacitus born?
He was alive from 56 to 120 AD. And Pliny the Younger.
That's not somebody who was alive during Jesus' time. That confirms what I said. Nobody during Jesus' life. There's no first-hand accounts of Jesus during
every other biography from that time period.
Find me one person who was alive during Jesus.
This is special pleading. This is special pleading.
No, it's Dusty, we do not know what fallacies mean.
I can do the same argument against Socrates, right? And most historians, Christian and secularists, agree that Socrates existed, even though Plato, like Paul, wrote all the stuff that Socrates said, right? Maybe he never existed, and the real you can make the same argument back. And now somebody actually said to me once, yes, but the writings about Jesus made much bigger impact on the world, which I might debate. Actually, I think Socrates made a lot of impact on the world too. But I mean, we can only take historians' word for what it is.
We gotta keep it moving. The claims made about Jesus by Christians are way more unbelievable than the claims made about Socrates. Nobody's claiming Socrates died and rose again for your sins. That's why. Hold on. That's why there's extra doubt about the validity of that claim, because it's more fantastical.
Yeah, I'll take you on that. And actually, I'm not arguing on that point right now. I'm literally saying that
trying to say
most secularists and Christians agree that Socrates existed and Jesus existed. The question is he divine? But it doesn't even go to my original point, being that what I was saying as far as logical goes, the Christians have, in your mind, this illogical view, which is that God created everything. And the secularists have this illogical view as well, that nothing created everything, right? I would say that. No, but you would still win this debate with that view.
But
if it's not your view, then explain.
I can't just say that. How?
I did. My point would be that I don't know how none of us. We're all agnostic. None of us know how anything got here. I'm just the only one that's honest about it.
No, I just said the same thing.
All right, let's go ahead and put a pin in that one, Vibe, because that's a really good open panel to push the rest of that topic, if you don't mind. Joseph, to you, please.
Thank you. Good evening, folks. Dusty, this one's geared towards you. I'm just going to list them off. You can respond to them if you want. I was just trying to figure out the best way to say that it is logical to win the debate prompt. So I listed off a few. And and I'm leaving Christianity out of it. I can tie it in later if that ever comes up.
There you go.
I can tie it in, but I don't want to get bogged down on that because I think it's secondary. So the prompt I came up with is that, well, what do we call what is Christianity in a category? I would place it in the beginnings, right? So it's a way of beginnings creation, XYZ. Then the second point would be, well, okay, what are our relative options within this category? So if we contrast those, it's basically start versus continuous. Are either of those logical? I would say no. So that could be a point of debate right there, but just I'm going to keep going here. So if that's true, or can it be the case that all options within this category are illogical, yet is there a truth to the matter, which would suppose that within this category, no matter what we choose, is illogical, yet the truth. So now we're kind of stuck in this paradoxical situation. Can something be illogical and true at the same time? And then I think I've muddied the waters enough at this point where we can say that, can you have truth without logic? I think it'd be fun to wrestle there, but like I said, I can definitely tie Christianity and all this. I think with human error and stuff like that, you can easily make the case. If God is true, then Christianity would clearly be rational.
Exactly. So Joseph, I'm gonna just decimate your argument with one simple point: chocolate milk.
Yeah, there you go. The best argument against it. He brings it up again because he doesn't actually have one. And
I don't know what chocolate milk is. What is that referring to?
It's a joke from like 10 minutes ago or something.
Oh, okay. Right.
It doesn't mean anything.
Chocolate milk.
I thought you actually had it slaughtered there. I was like, oh, what is this?
No, I lied.
Fair enough. Thank you, Joseph. And Balderson, to you, please.
So I'm going to start. Is Andrew there and just off screen or not?
I'm here. Hell,
there. His camera just goes on and off sometimes.
I think you're going to have more luck on your likeness if you upgrade it to the bad guy from Hackers rather than Short Circuit, where they're purposely trying to make him look for Indian.
You guys really want to compare me to someone that I look like? The bad guy from Hackers?
Yeah, it's the same dude, but in Hackers, they're not trying to make him look Indian. And you definitely look like that dude.
I have a grilled cheese that looks like him too.
Yeah.
So nice.
I don't. This is the same dude, you asshole.
I know it's the same dude. I said that.
Oh,
what the fuck?
Sorry. He doesn't look anything like me. Nothing.
John 26-7. He saw the linen cloth laying there in the face cloth, which has been on Jesus' head, not lying with the linen cloth, but folded up in a place by itself. And also there's a part in here which says even the linen cloths were numerous cloths. How do you square that?
No, I said we have both cloths. That's the amazing part. And they survive separately.
But
one is called the sudarium.
Numerous cloths. It's not
We
one
have
cloth.
numerous cloths. We have the sudarium, which is the face cloth that was just described, and we have the shroud, the two different cloths. And this is what I was saying, you can line them up perfectly. Each wound is in the exact same spot. And they survived history separately, not together, like separate. And they're the same blood type, which no one could have, like, it's impossible that it's a forgery, dude. It's impossible.
Well, it's definitely
to me.
from a person.
To me.
Doesn't mean it's from Jesus. And then secondly, on the shroud, the dating that you described relies on them understanding the exact conditions of the shroud during that entire time period. So for
what about the pollen found on it from Jerusalem during Passover? What about that?
So for
isn't that weird?
They assume that for 13 centuries before it was brought to Chambéry, France, that it was in exactly 22.5 degrees Celsius with a relative humidity of about 55%.
No, it was in a fire.
It says that in the study.
It was in a fire.
I'm reading this from the study.
It was in a fire.
If it had been kept in conditions with a different temperature and relative humidity, the aging of the flax cellulose and resultant dating would have been different also. So you don't find needing very precise conditions for 13 fucking centuries a little bit, questionable.
If I concede that, will you concede the original testing was done on a repair patch? I
did read that it was that they took. Yeah, dude, there was buzzards outside on the tree this morning. I think the dogs found something dead and were gnawing on it also. And there's dead animal dog farts, and it is horrifying.
Is that why you look like you're trying to rob the gas station with a note?
Yeah. I think they got a hold of a dead animal because, like I said, I went around and checked the whole farm this morning. So I was like, shit, why is there buzzards in that tree? And all my animals were fine, so there must be something out in the forest dead somewhere.
The alpacas are all right.
Yeah. Although you will see dirty looks tonight because I'm trying to build a greenhouse and they won't leave it the fuck alone. They keep trying to knock it over or something.
Alpacas are douchebags.
Yeah.
All right, the gauntlet is officially open. If my mods could, I'm having some terrible lag going on my end to try to pull up so I can drop the link. But if the mods could drop the link to the gauntlet video, please do so now in the chat. Otherwise, we are moving into full gauntlet mode, ladies and gentlemen. Andy, welcome up. We lost AP. I think he just had his question and left, but that's what that's there for. All right. I'm going to go ahead and shut down over on the Raging Tomato side. You will automatically raid over to the gauntlet. If you don't know where you're going, the mods will drop. They are actually, the Nightbots got it, and the mods will be dropping the link in the chat here momentarily. Otherwise, just catch the raid over now. Thank you.